Hey there, Saber friends.
I'll fly a starship across the universe divide, and when I reach the other side,
Welcome, Saber friends. Thank you for joining me tonight. We are going to talk about Star Wars stuff, Book of Boba Fett, and a couple other things I wanted to get to. Saber the moment. We are live. I've got a couple guests coming in this show, and we are going to discuss the Book of Boba Fett. I rewatched the final episode, and I caught a couple more things, and a couple more things I didn't like. It seemed slower the second time, where the tactical decisions seemed really, really poor by Boba Fett and by the Mandalorian. Of course, there was, some good things as well. Some things were reinforced that were good, and some other things came under fire a second time around. Let's bring in my first guest that is going to discuss this with me. If you guys don't know, well, what I do is I make custom lightsabers, custom blades. Started out making string blades for custom lightsabers, which is like a movie prop. So when everything turned over to the RGB NeoPixel, we went and did the NeoPixel as well as custom sabers and stuff like that. So that's where this channel comes from. Love everything about Star Wars. Started watching all the new stuff, and continue to make, all my custom lightsabers, and going around on the forums, FX Saber forums, the Rebel Armory, meeting friends throughout the years, making custom lightsabers. Everybody who loves Star Wars. We have Mundo in the house. What is going on, Mundo? Another friend I met along the way with custom lightsabers. Mundo in the house. What does Mundo say? I bought the F-16 from TCSS. Oh, yeah, you sent me a picture of that. That looks really cool. So along the way, met some friends making custom lightsabers and stuff like that. One of them, we actually started doing civilized sabers together. That is Jedi Hesh.
Yo, yo!
Jedi Hesh.
It's a saber party.
It's a saber party. No lightsaber required.
That.
Everyone's invited. Amazingly, there was saber action in not the Mandalorian, in Boba Fett. We have the dark saber. It didn't, it seemed like Din Djarin had better control of it this time, but it didn't have the effect on those droids he was going for with the shields up. So the saber that we saw was kind of ineffective in that regard. And Grogu didn't choose the saber, obviously, so he didn't have his saber.
More and more, I'm finding sabers are getting weaker and weaker in the official canon storylines. What do you think?
Well, I rewatched the scene. I think were you here when I was watching the final episode of The Mandalorian season 2? Now, Luke's lightsaber was cutting into those dark droids, those battle droids, pretty well.
Yeah.
The dark
anything
saber
with that shield
is the dark saber like exactly the same as a regular lightsaber as far as the power of it. Like
they say it's more powerful.
Cutting ability.
They say it's more powerful.
Yeah,
that's what I thought.
Chet Osborne is here. What's going on? Thanks for joining in tonight. We are, finding lightsabers in all the most unusual places, finding episodes of The Mandalorian in unusual places, right smack in the middle of Boba Fett season 1. Now, did anyone hear anything about a Boba Fett season 2? Is there a season 2, or is this like a one-shot deal because it's kind of based off of the movie that they try to write about Boba Fett, and now it became this series, which they really only had like 5 episodes of, because 2 of them were taken up fully by the Mandalorian.
Yeah, true. A lot of people that got on a lot of people's nerves, I think. I heard a lot of chatter. They were annoyed that Mando was so prominent in the Book of Boba Fett.
Really, even though those episodes were like sweet, I guess, like, because that's kind of how I felt too. Like those episodes were sweet, but
I felt they were the best episodes of the whole series.
Right.
Yeah, I agree.
Now, do you think those episodes were like Mandalorian episodes that were written to be Mandalorian episodes, but maybe, I don't know, they wanted to push the Boba Fett series out and needed a couple more bits of content they wanted to stick in there?
Could definitely be.
It's so weird that the Book of Boba Fett series, first of all, like, wasn't completely about Boba Fett. But we saw the scene from The Mandalorian season 2 was like way more action packed, you guys. Like it was like when Boba Fett comes on screen in season 2 of The Mandalorian and he's using his gaffy stick against I think it was stormtroopers. He's beating them up. They're in full armor, but the gaffy stick is winning against them. His martial arts are winning. He doesn't say too much. He is like stoic. He's powerful. A little bit different when we see the Book of Boba Fett show. There's more of a goofiness to him, and also like a non-leadership aspect to him where it's like it almost should be called the Book of Fennec because she's kicking ass. I was just watching the 7th, episode. She was kicking ass in this episode, kind of taking the initiative, coming up with the plan. He agreed. And then when they found out where the bad guys were hiding, she jumped out. She jumps on her speeder bike and takes off. And on the way to get the true gang leaders, the true mayor, the bad guys there running the show, she stops and saves the day with those I actually wrote down their names, Drash and Scad, which is like the stupidest names for those.
They were the kids, right? The teenagers or the bikers.
Helpers.
Yeah.
Like imagine try to let's just stop and think of those names for a second. Like Drash and Scad. Like when I think of Scad, I think Skid Mark. And like they said it in the show, they said Scad and Drash. And Drash is like you just take the T in trash and replace it with a D. I mean, these are the stupidest names in the world, like to come up with them. But
I didn't know their names until now.
To be totally fair, like, I was always a fan of the Star Wars EU Expanded Universe books. And they had some goofy names in those books for people too. So I'm not really attacking the new stuff over really, like I could make fun of the stuff in the books a little bit too. But just to bring up the book stuff, like I don't know if you know this, because if you didn't read any of the books, like and there's so many books. I mean, there's like a lot of books. So this is like a time frame in the books where Luke is like 60 years old or something like that, 55 years old, and we have Han and Leia's daughter, Jaina. She's like 30 years old, right? So it's far into it's actually about the time of like, let's say like it's like the Last Jedi type of time frame, right? But there's different characters because it's the books, different universe. And you have Jaina, who's the daughter of Han and Leia. And, she has to deal with a Sith Lord who is a problem, right? Because he knows all her tricks and everything that she knows, because it's her twin brother. The Sith Lord is her twin brother that she's got to face off against him, right, in the book. So what she decides to do is she's like, I got to come at Jason, that's the brother, Darth Caedus. I got to come at Darth Caedus with something different. Something different, unexpected, because we grew up together. We're twins. He knows every move I'm going to make before I'm going to make it. So what am I going to do? So she decides, because in the books, Boba Fett is also alive. Like in this TV show, he crawled out of the Sarlacc pit. The books is the same way, even though it's a different universe, kind of different timeline or whatever you want to call it. They canceled that. They call it Legends, those books. So anyway, Boba Fett's still alive. He's like 70 years old at this point, because we're talking about, it's not like this show is 5 years after Return of the Jedi. We're talking 40 years after 30 years after Return of the Jedi at this point in the books, where Jaina, the daughter of Han and Leia, she's got a lot of force ability. She's actually called the Sword of the Jedi, I think, by that point, which means she's the most badass Jedi they got. But still, like I said, she may not be able to take down the brother because the brother knows all her tricks. So she's like, I'm going to go ask Boba Fett. I'm going to go ask my parents' old enemy. Like,
does Luke still have the school in those stories?
Right. There's like a Jedi Academy.
There is a Jedi Academy. Okay.
And it's kind of, I think it's spread out in maybe 3 different locations. Because at one point, just to diverge from my story for a second, there was like, aliens attacked, different people attacked. They had to kind of hide the Jedi Temple, different spots and stuff like that. So there's like a Jedi Temple on Ossus. There's a Jedi Temple somewhere else. There's like a Jedi Temple on Yavin, I think, or whatever they got.
Yeah.
So anyway, Jaina decides, I'm going to go talk to Boba Fett. I'm going to hunt down Boba Fett and see what he knows. Maybe he could teach me tactical things that my brother won't know, because Boba Fett is some kind of badass. My parents told me stories. He's always coming in and thwarting them and ruining their dinners and stuff like that, and causing trouble for his whole existence. And like I said, he's like 70 years old at this point. So very long-lived clone, obviously, because that's why Jango put Boba Fett as a unaltered clone, so that he'd have a normal life. So he's about 70 years old anyway. Jaina goes there and says, listen, I know you've been an enemy of my parents for the past, 40 years, but can you just set our differences aside and help me, because my brother is about to, destroy the universe and everything else, and I need some help with some, military tactics. So long story short, Boba Fett helps Jaina Solo train under different circumstances, a little bit like guerrilla warfare, some different military tactics, and the Jedi taught her, and it was enough to turn the tide when she had to fight her brother, who was the Sith Lord. Maybe he was slightly more powerful, even though she's called the Sword of the Jedi. He's kind of got everything going for him. He's been through a lot, Jason Solo, so he's kind of got the upper hand in the fighting aspect, even though she's the Sword of the Jedi. But in the end, with Boba Fett's training, she comes out. Now, my question, that's a long way to ask. Let me welcome Robert into the show, because I want to ask you both this. Robert Sotomayor is here. What is going on, Rob?
Hey guys, how's it going?
Good.
What's up,
Good
Rob?
to see you.
Thanks for having me. Sorry I'm late.
Oh, that's okay. Yeah, stop at anytime you want. I wanted to ask you guys, would Jaina from the expanded universe, Jaina Solo, ask this Boba Fett in this show for like a military training? Because when they were flying around in episode 7, it's like, first of all, they come up with silly plans, the Mandalorian and Boba Fett, to attack the bad guys there. And it just seemed like, they landed right in the middle of the square after jetpacking around for a while and shooting, when they could have landed at some upper structures. Like, as we know in the Star Wars world, when you have the high ground, it's better, and there was still shooters on the second stories. So I caught this all the first time, really, but watching it the second time just seemed even more goofy. The way they had their military group spread around. They have the Wookiee standing alone. They have the other people over there, and a bunch of lizards pull out a knife on the Wookiee, and he's overtaken. He's got a machine gun. So I wanted to ask you guys, it just didn't seem like the same Boba Fett that I was maybe thinking, because from reading the books and thinking how cool that 1980s Boba Fett was, I'm like, oh, he's going to be like a military, because the clones, that's the reason why Jango Fett was chosen, right? And he would teach his son. He was chosen for his military prowess, which is one of the reasons, he's the donor for the clones.
Yeah, when I saw that scene, and I was like, okay, great, they're flying, right? They got the high ground, and then they land down, and then they're still getting shot from above, and I totally agree with you. It didn't make any sense. But as you mentioned, Boba is military tactics, and he would know better. I'm just gonna blame this on the writers, and whoever directed this show is to blame for that. It was very inconsistent. Yeah, I was definitely I enjoyed the episode as a whole. I guess it wasn't that bad, but there were a lot of inconsistencies, and there were a lot of things that I saw that were kind of like something you would expect to see in a cartoon, as how they would react. And that's how I kind of just put myself in that mindset. Okay, you're kind of watching a live action cartoon that's kind of for kids and not necessarily adults, because had it been more adult oriented, then it would have, I feel it would have been more in sync. It would have made more sense.
It seemed like it was written that way too. The dialogue was like that as well.
Yep, exactly.
Welcome, Jedi Gabe and JediArmsDealer. What's going on,
Gabe
guys?
is here. What's up, Gabe?
What's up, guys?
What's happening, fellers?
Welcome. We are doing a Mandalorian, or not a man. I keep getting it wrong because they keep fooling me. A Boba Fett discussion, talking about Star Wars stuff as well. David Hunter, New York City. You're really cool looking. Don't take this the wrong way. You look like a young Jedi. Well, that's a compliment. Oh, in the Star Wars franchise, you'd be Emperor Palpatine before he turned to the dark side. Oh, thank you. Thank you. That's a compliment to me.
Very nice.
Yeah, if you're talking about me, I think you are. Mundo is laughing.
I am too.
Mundo says, Boba, where's this comment? I can't click on it. Boba was such a tactician that he would make sense for input to be used against Cadus. Yeah, I mean, in the, before I saw his tactics on in this mission, where he's like defending the city. David Hunter says, everyone wants to be the good guy, but you have to have awesome bad guys too. Darth Maul was the ultimate bad guy, but the franchise screwed that one up. Yeah, I feel the same way with Darth Maul. I couldn't believe Darth Maul was like really a lot. Like they brought him back with legs and stuff. Like that was crazy. That was the
robotic
start.
spider legs.
But that was the start of all this madness where nobody's dead for real. Like no one's for real dead.
I saw you might be right, Space. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. You might be right. I saw an episode today where they showed Cad Bane has like a little red flashing heart monitor thing on his chest, and it didn't stop flashing after Boba stabbed him.
Oh,
yeah,
right.
I saw that too.
Yeah, he's not dead.
I think you're right.
No way.
Yeah. Nope.
I wanted to do like some kind of GIF where it's like Boba smashing him, but instead of once, it's like over and over and over and over and over, like it should have been. Like if it was real, like real life. Like you would have used that thing to bludgeon Cad Bane like a bunch more, just because like people will. I mean, especially think about you being Boba. You brought Fennec back from the dead, and you've got or you kind of have the notion to put Cobb. What's his name? Cobb. Whatever. Say his name again.
The sheriff. Yeah.
Cobb Vanth back on ice as well. Like he's in a iron lung. He's in the back of the tank. So I mean, being Boba Fett, you know that people can live like pretty. I mean, not easily, but if you get one of those tattoo artists, you could bring someone back to life. So it's not that bad in the Star Wars world. Like he really messed up there by not bludgeoning that guy. And like the way he talks to and about Cad Bane is pretty goofy too. Like like I said, I was rewatching episode 7, and at one point Boba Fett, like I guess someone was telling Boba Fett that there was the bad guys were outside, and he's like, is Cad Bane with them? Like he was like nervous or something. It's like I just don't think, I don't know. Like Boba Fett. Like if you watch the original movies where Boba Fett is there, Darth Vader tells him no disintegrations. Like he points at him like as if to say, you're so dangerous that you cause disintegrations like haphazardly. Like he didn't do that in this at all. Like he didn't have to be held back because he wasn't trying to disintegrate anybody. Yeah. He should have disintegrated somebody in this, like in the whole series with 7 hours of Boba Fett, and we saw 0 disintegrations and no one's ordering him not to. That's
or
weird.
Maybe he did the speed bikers. Maybe he did disintegrate some of those with his Slave One. I'm gonna call it Slave One. I'm not gonna call it whatever they came into.
All right, that was a little bit of a disintegration. You know what he should have disintegrated, like at least one of those pink Vespas or those like green colored Vespas that they had. That would have made the audience laugh.
Yeah. Well, Cad Bane did point out that he's going soft in his old age.
He did point that out, yeah. But like one of those like cyborg teenagers could have failed Boba Fett for a second, and then like he could have been like, "You failed me for the last time," and then like blow up their scooter. It was kind of funny when the Mandalorian, I think it was a Mandalorian, he was trying to use his flamethrower on the shielded spider droid.
Oh yes.
That was useless.
Yeah, that didn't work.
It was also kind of like, like what was done really well. It was scary to kind of see it again. Was the Harris? I think you were here when I was watching that, when we were seeing the Dark Trooper like punching Mandalorian's helmet
Yeah, he
over
was
and
like,
over again in that last episode of the Mandalorian season 2.
yeah,
Oh my Lord, that was scary, man. Because like
that was brutal.
that was brutal. And
Pretty
you just
brutal.
look at like the change from like the brutality there, the action of like Luke and the lightsaber and destroying the dark troopers, and even just a battle between Din Djarin and one dark trooper was pretty harrowing for Din Djarin. It was really difficult. He had to pull out all the stops. And do you remember, like, none of his weapons worked? He tried the flamethrower. The thing just ended up looking like the Terminator. It
Yeah, well,
ended
do you
up looking at
remember?
the Terminator at the camera, and then he
Do you
even
remember
tried
what?
his special little fizzly things that didn't
Do you
work.
remember what worked for him? It was the spear. It was the
It was a
Beskar spear.
spear, yeah. Where
He was
it was
able
kind
to.
of lying on the ground or something.
I don't know if it was he dropped it. It was yeah. He grabbed it back and he put it through the chest of that dark trooper guy. You know.
Yeah. Yeah, I wanted to talk to you guys about Luke as well, because there was just something I was noticing back since 2016, and when we saw Rogue One, and they had to remake Tarkin. Do you remember they made Tarkin?
Yep.
They use an actor. I think they use Matt Smith, or I forget who, and they overwrote like Tarkin skin onto the actor. And now we're experiencing in some of these shows like The Mandalorian, Boba Fett, we see that it's kind of something. It's, for me, it's like really, really on the edge of what we should be doing and what we shouldn't be doing, because I think it's different when people are alive versus when people have passed. Remember when Carrie Fisher died and Disney said that they weren't going to try to like re-embody her with the CGI or fake her resemblance, her look.
They
Whereas
did
like they actually did do it in a Rogue One, but
yeah.
I thought
They
she looked
de-aged her.
horrible in Rogue One. It didn't look
Yeah, that
good at
was
all.
bad.
In the bridge scene, I was like, please don't do that again.
she was like sparkly, like one of the vampires from Twilight.
Yeah, she just looked flat. Like, it was weird the way she turned her head. She just looked 2D or something. It was weird.
When I go back and look at the Rogue One version of Tarkin as well, it seems odd. And even at the time, I thought the Tarkin from Rogue One seemed kind of weird. And I just wonder why, like, we feel the need to do this. And I wanted to ask you guys, you guys are all fans of this, and I want to maybe explain a little bit about what I mean. Is that we have this Luke Skywalker in The Mandalorian, and he showed up at the end, and people had a discussion about it. Like, what is this about? Like, it doesn't really quite look real. And then when we come back with the Book of Boba Fett, and we see Luke, it looked better. And you see Mark Hamill's name at the end, and then you kind of find out that it's Mark Hamill's voice to, portraying Luke Skywalker, but it's like a body, it's a different actor, but they skin it to look like Mark Hamill.
I didn't know that. That's not even Mark Hamill in the screenshot.
It's not Mark Hamill's body.
I didn't know that.
It's like a different actor. I don't know the name, but the thing is, it's like, what is it with us? Like, what is it with us fans? Or is it us? Like, what we want, or what the corporation perceives that the fan
Can
wants?
I touch on this? I think that Disney has a problem with fan service. I mean, I guess you can't have it both ways, right? So the reason I say that, in the 3 sequel movies, especially
they just went off on a tangent. They gave us things that didn't work right in our vision of Star Wars, I think, in most fans' visions of Star Wars. And now I feel like with Boba Fett and with Mandalorian and Luke showing up and us seeing all these old characters that we've come to love, it's a lot of fan service. It's a lot of them, just giving us, Disney giving us what they think we want. I'm not even sure if they really know what we want. Sometimes I think they're shooting in the dark, As good as it was, my favorite 2 episodes were the last 2 episodes of Boba Fett, but I felt like the whole thing was a lot of fan service. And what do I mean by that? So, all right, so let's look back in history. Boba Fett was the unknown, come out of nowhere beloved character. Everybody loved Boba Fett. Why did they love him? Well, he had cool armor. He had a cool toy. They withdrew the toy because it shot the jetpack. Then they re-released it. He had a cool story, real world. But Disney it's a lot of fan service, in my opinion. And I think they're shooting in the dark. I think maybe they got a little lost. They got off track with the initial 5 episodes. So they said, well, let's throw Mando in here because Mando got good reviews. Well, we never really had a bounty hunter story before. We had the Jedi story. We had the Sith story. But I think they're kind of just saying, okay, so Mando's working for us in the ratings, so we're going to go there. And we're going to take Mando and we're going to fan service, force feed it down everybody's throat in these last 2 episodes. And yeah, for me, I guess it worked because I thought they were the best 2 of the 7 series. I hope you guys can understand what I'm saying. My mind is a little warped. It goes in circles sometimes.
I think it's a
But are you
combination.
following me? You guys understand what I was saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
I think it's a combination of not only fan
hold on.
service,
I lost my earpiece.
but also them wanting to get their ratings.
Hang
and
on.
like
I'm working with antiquated technology here.
You're
Can you guys hear
analog
me?
today.
yeah, we can hear you.
Sorry,
Nothing
I
better than
went
a
off on a
direct connection.
tangent. I don't know if you guys heard everything because my
We
headphones
got
died.
you.
But oh, jeez.
I hate it when that happens.
Technical
I've done that
difficulty.
too.
Stand by. Can you hear us?
You guys got me?
Yeah, we
Yeah.
got
Yep.
you.
Sorry.
As I was saying, I think it's a combination of just a whole, because in the Mandalorian season 2, when Luke showed up, even though he didn't, he looked weird, but he's there, right? And the fans went crazy and we loved it. And I think they kind of took from that and wanted to put it into Boba somehow, like you said, kind of force it in there because it really didn't belong. I don't think Mando belonged in there. I don't think Luke belonged in there. I definitely don't think Ahsoka belonged in there.
Didn't they owe us Luke, though? I mean, they took Luke and they destroyed our favorite character in the last 3 movies. They owed us Luke in a good scene, as far as I was concerned.
Yeah, but the execution was just personally, I think my opinion, the execution was just not there. It was, and I brought this up before in my on my Facebook page. I think I commented something about it's like having good music and just mixing it all wrong is what it seemed like to me. Like you have all these great characters. You got Ahsoka, you got Luke, you got Mando, you got Boba. You got just all these awesome characters, and they're just kind of just being thrown in there at the wrong time. I felt the timing was just wrong. It just the story went from like here. There's no continuity to the storyline, is what I'm saying. It was just random stuff being thrown in, and the fans will love it because they love these characters. And it worked with the end of season 2 of Mando. So let's just mix it in here, and they'll love it as well. And a lot of people did like it. I've seen people rave about it, that they were happy, that they loved the Boba Fett, the Book of Boba. Me personally, not so much. Like as a Star Wars fan, yes, I love the characters. Yes, I'm happy to see them. I was not happy with the execution of how they were brought into the storyline.
I get that. I just
getting back to the whole Boba Fett thing, he was an early character. We had him in the late 70s, early 80s. And I think what they did with this story, they turned it around on us. They made him the hero. They turned him from a no good, rotten scoundrel bounty hunter that had no problem throwing Han Solo in carbonite, right? And they took him and they made him the hero in this. Even though he's the bad guy, he's trying to take over this whole territory like a mafia kingpin, But they tried to make him out to be the good guy, And sometimes we root for the bad guy, Look, I'm a fan of Smokey and the Bandit. You know what I mean? The Bandit was the bad guy. He was the crook. He was being chased by the cops. But I just feel like, I don't know. I really, don't get me wrong. I loved it. I thought it was great. I'm happy that they did it. I'm happy that they gave it to us. Give us more story. Give us less fan service. And do justice to our favorite characters. I think that Dave Filoni, I think that what's his name? Happy from Marvel. I forget his name. I think that they were on the right track. Yeah, I think they're on the right track. But I still see a name in the credits every week, and that name is Kathy Kennedy. We can't get rid of her. She is Darth Vader to me in real life. She is the criminal kingpin. I want her out. Just how I feel. A lot of fan service, a lot of they give us what they think we want. And yeah, I'll give it a B+, And I did. I liked the scenes. I mean, it was just too much with Luke and the baby character. I mean, save that shit for Mando. I wanted to see more of Boba Fett. I'll tell you what was interesting to me. What was interesting to me was Boba Fett with the Sand People. I would have liked 2 more episodes on Boba Fett with the Sand People and save that whole Mando and Grogu story for the 3rd season of The Mandalorian. Just what I think. I think they're kind of shooting in the dark. I think they're trying to fan service us, and it's getting old. It's getting old.
They really walked all over their story when they brought Grogu back to The Mandalorian, even before the next Mandalorian season began. Therefore, there was really no time spent apart for those people. Who took they bring the Rancor into the story, right? Who took out the Rancor at the end? Grogu. It's the story of David and Goliath, and I mean, not knocking it. I mean, Star Wars has always been a lot of biblical stuff thrown into it. But
what you think, Dave?
I just wish they'd get it right. I wish they would let real Star Wars fans kind of put this stuff together. And I think they're on the right track with letting those 2 guys do what they do. And I just think that they need to give Lucas a little more control back if they want to make it work, and take Kathy Kennedy out of it. Her name is in every credits. She's like the 3rd name that pops up in the credits every week. And I just think that chick, she's the Antichrist as far as I'm concerned. I just think that she ruined Star Wars for me. And I've been saying that for what, Ant? 2 years, 3 years now?
Oh yeah.
I've been preaching,
What's up? Tom's up in here.
What's going on, Tom?
Yo.
Yeah, if I could just jump in. I learned something recently that I didn't know, because I'm an audio guy and I love to edit audio and produce electronic music and stuff. And I did not know that after Luke does the voiceover, maybe you guys did know this, after Luke does the voiceover, they actually de-age his voice. They have some type of a technique to where they bring it down to where, because he records it in the studio at 70, was he 70 years old now? And then they actually bring it down to where, I don't know how they do that. That's some cool stuff. So that leads me to my next thought on this whole bringing back these characters or trying to, de-age them visually. I feel like Disney's trying to walk in the LucasArts footsteps, where they're always wanting to be on, you know, the cutting edge of technology. Let's flex what we can do, you know, before anybody else, type of thing. Is it still ILM that's doing this stuff, or is it the Disney team now? I'm not sure. I know.
I'm not sure.
I
I'm
think
not sure.
ILM is like survived, and they are the effects house that does this stuff, but I'm not sure. I'm not positive on that.
Yeah, that's what I would think too. So ILM's been on the forefront of, like, you know, whatever, these movies and now these series and stuff like that. So I think that's what they're trying to do. They're just trying to incorporate, like, well, look what we can do. You know, we're badasses. We're at the forefront of technology. I hated it in Rogue One. I thought it was kind of sad that Tarkin looked better than Leia at the end, even though Tarkin didn't look great. But I have to admit, I got really excited when I saw Luke at the end of Mando. That was pretty freaking epic.
Yeah,
but it looked awkward.
I definitely agree.
Awkward.
I agree.
Yeah, I want to like explore that idea a bit about being happy to see Luke, but how? But how did it happen? Because what I want to ask you guys, and what I want to get to the, like, sort of the heart of the matter, is being I'm not an actor, but I think I can try to understand, like, what it must be like to be an actor, because I'm an artist. So I draw pictures, I draw comic books, I can paint pictures. I'm trying to think of what it might be like to be an actor. And I know there's a lot that goes into being an actor. You know, there's nuance to your movement, to your face, your body motion, and you practice all that stuff, and even the voice too. Now,
Everything.
what is taken away? There's a couple questions here. First, I want to know what is taken away, like, and where are we left off, and how long are we going to do this? So there's 3 questions here. So what I'm saying is, like, what is removed when you don't allow an actor to give their craft to the role? So when we have 007, we have the different actors playing James Bond, and nobody ever asks, like, Daniel Craig to say, Daniel Craig, can you act like Sean Connery here? Can you just, like, be like Sean Connery? Because, like, everyone's really happy with Sean Connery. We're gonna actually, like, put something on your face to make you look like more like. No, they don't do that stuff there. It's like people just accept that there's a different actor playing James Bond. It's totally fine. Nobody bothers.
Everybody's got their own different mannerisms.
Right. And everyone can give something to the role. So Daniel Craig can bring his physicality, whereas Sean Connery may have brought his, like, dapper attitude, his walk, his voice, the way he moved. He had a different slender being about him. It was the 1960s. It's a different time. You know, you have Pierce Brosnan's bringing something else to the role. Maybe it's the way he winks at Halle Berry. Maybe it's something he does with his mouth. Maybe it's the way he holds the gun. You know, so by doing this thing with Luke Skywalker, by saying it's got to be Mark Hamill, everyone, like, no one else is ever going to get a chance to put their stamp. What do you think Luke Skywalker, like, is? Like, can you as an actor go in and become Luke Skywalker for us? We know the last guy that did it was Mark Hamill, but can you as an actor become Luke Skywalker? Not Mark Hamill, like, not you pretending to be Mark Hamill, pretending to be Luke Skywalker, because then we're never going to get anywhere. We're never going to go any further. And if we keep
isn't that what they did with Han Solo?
Well, that's where it could go wrong. That's when it could go wrong, you know, when it doesn't work, when that actor really doesn't embody the acting choice was, you know, that the choice of actor was maybe, like, not lining up with the character. But it probably would have been more likely to be successful there, because you have like Han Solo, Harrison Ford in real life, who's 70 or 80 years old, and you need a 20-year-old kid. So it almost has to be a different actor, right? Unless you want it to be like the Irishman movie from Martin Scorsese and to de-age like an 80-year-old Robert De Niro to be younger. So in a sense, you need a different actor for that. It's the same thing with Tarkin. Way easier to get away with it, considering we're talking, this is like 30 years before, whatever it is, 20 years before. So Tarkin, it's not the same age. If you hire a different actor, let that actor be Tarkin. We as the audience are intelligent enough to take it like a James Bond. Like, okay, this is just a different actor. He's bringing whatever he's bringing as a Tarkin, as a Leia, or as Luke. And we can leave Mark Hamill behind.
I think the dynamic is just far too different, as in the aspect that James Bond 007 has a history of establishing that they've changed the actor to portray James Bond. In the Star Wars universe, that nobody has been replaced by another actor that I know of to portray that actor, that character. And I think that, especially now with the storyline that we have within Star Wars, and Mark Hamill, Luke Skywalker has already aged and progressed and actually has passed on and become one with the Force. To bring in another actor to portray a Luke character, I think would be it would throw the fans off, because we're not used to seeing it in the 40 plus years of Star Wars, 45 years we have of Star Wars. To have that happen now, I think it would be bad. I wouldn't want to. I personally wouldn't want to see that. Yeah, I think it would just be weird. 007, the James Bond series, like I said, has already established the fact that they've changed James Bonds, and they've had their own spin and their own characters and mannerisms and the way they act and portray the character. But the character is the main character of the whole story. Star Wars as a whole has many main characters. We have Luke, we have Darth Vader, we have Leia, we have just a ton of different characters, Boba, that themselves are highly recognized and can have their own story, which is what they're doing now. In the James Bond series, you're not going to see other characters within the James Bond universe have spin-offs. It just wouldn't make sense. That, I get what you're saying as far as having another talent portray the character, but because that's already been established in the James Bond series for way longer, I just don't see it working with Star Wars, because it's never been done. Not to say that it can't happen or that it can't work, but it would just be weird for me.
I mean, look what they did with Batman. Every Batman storyline, it's a different Batman. And to be honest with you, I kind of like it in the fact that we get different flavors of the same character. Christian Bale's Batman is definitely different than Michael Keaton's Batman. And Michael Keaton's Batman is definitely different than Val Kilmer's Batman. Each one is individual, would we like that with Star Wars? I don't know. Because, in my opinion, nobody plays Luke like Mark Hamill. They're saying Sebastian Stan wants to play Luke now. I don't know if you guys have seen that.
But that's only because he looks like Mark Hamill, and that's kind of what I want to
he looks a little like Mark Hamill did at that time.
I feel like we paint ourselves into a corner when we say it's got to be Mark Hamill's voice, it's got to look like Mark Hamill, because let's say Mark Hamill, God forbid, passes away tomorrow. Alls we will ever have are the mannerisms, the way he looked, the way he moved. That's all we will ever have. It'll be very cartoony and robotic from here going forward. Every time you'll see Luke, people will say, we demand Mark Hamill. Okay, we'll paint Mark Hamill on there for you guys. And it becomes
a parody of the character. It becomes a parody of the character.
Like, for instance, I'll give you like a visual example of what I mean is the way that the way that these Jedi seem to age. You remember, like back in the Phantom Menace, we have Obi-Wan Kenobi, who's like a Padawan, and he's kind of just crossed the Jedi trials, I guess. Like he becomes a knight. Do you remember Yoda at the end says, you know, you're a knight now. Like I guess him fighting Maul was like his trial, you know, and maybe the fact that Qui-Gon died, the Master died, and he survived that encounter made the Master see he has what it takes to be a Jedi Knight. Let's give him the advancement. Okay, give him the advancement. Next time we see him a few years later, 5 or 10 years later, he's got the beard going. He's changed his look a little bit. A visual representation of the stagnation of the CGI deep fake Luke is the short-sightedness of the people who are creating it from scratch. So when you have an actor, you maybe have someone who's like coming in and like maybe they've grown out some scruffle or, you know, some beard, and they're saying this is what I think Luke looks like at this time because he's 30 years old or whatever. Maybe he looks a little like Obi-Wan with his hair is a little different. But Luke is coming on screen with the same pajamas and the same hairdo as 5 years before in Return of the Jedi, like the same even like unbuttoned shirt and everything. I just think like it's a short-sightedness of these people who are creating it to not say like, let's put in the work to like, okay, he might not look exactly like off the sail barge of Jabba's palace because this is 5 years later. Okay, give him like gray pants. But like, it's almost like the audience won't accept anything else, or they think we won't. Like they think we only can accept Mark Hamill's voice, his look, and his same exact outfit as 5 years before. Now, I wear the same clothes as 5 years before, but I don't think people should. Like, I want to replace the clothes faster.
I think it's a unique situation, though, we're in to go off on what you're talking about, Space, is because with this franchise, Star Wars fans are unique in that we have sat down and watched these movies over and over and over again. So we have their movements, their facial expressions burned in our minds over the generations, the years that we have hit rewind and watched these things over and over again. I never sat around and watched reruns of James Bond as much as I have Star Wars. So that puts Disney in a really weird position to try to make us happy because, I mean, we're basically like, you know, we've cracked out on these so many times maybe we don't want anything else. I don't know. So it's this weird fine line that they have to ride to try to keep us happy because Star Wars fans we're different.
We're the worst.
Yeah.
we are the worst.
We are. It's true, man.
Oh, I know. Like
the
people that like rail against a different person walking on screen.
That wouldn't go well. I personally wouldn't want to see more Luke Skywalker. Like, we know his story. We've seen it. Unless they're going to do like a series or a movie to tell what happened after, like he does his Jedi temple, he does his training and everything that led up to Kylo. Like, I'd be down for that. But don't just throw him in there just to throw him in there just because, oh, it's Luke. Yeah, let's all go crazy. It's Luke. It worked with Mando because I think the whole presentation, the intro, how he came in and how he saved the day. He was the hero. That was great. It worked. But and Boba, I just didn't. It felt force fed to us. Like they were forcing him on us, and it had no. To me, he really didn't have a place in Boba. Well, I would have rather seen like even the best episodes, which were 6 and 7, that had nothing to do with Boba. I would have rather seen Boba start planning, scouting, doing his strategic, like getting ready for the actual battle that led up to episode 7, as opposed to, all right, let's have a random episode of Mando and then a little bit of Luke and Ahsoka and Mando, and then a cameo of Boba in his own episode 6. You know, to me,
Rob, I got a question for you. Rob.
Yeah.
Why do you think they did that?
Why? Well,
why do you think they did that?
It could have been several reasons. The ratings were going down. People were complaining that the show wasn't that great. Even Boba himself forgive me if I forget his name, Tamaris or whatever his name is.
Tamira Morrison, I think.
There you go. He said that he didn't want to talk. He didn't want to really be, he kind of just wanted to sit back and play his character to what it originally was for us, that we grew to love, and now this badass bounty hunter that was out there, and now he's gone soft on us, and he didn't want that. And so maybe they did that as well to help bring up the ratings, and brought in Mando and Luke, and to kind of give us that fan service. It really did
touch on that point
me.
real quick.
And if you have an answer, go for it. Shoot it.
Let me touch on that point. So the ratings were going down. It's a 7-week episode show, right? So the ratings were going down in episode 3, 4, 5.
I think
it's not like they went out that week and did a reshoot. They didn't re-edit the thing at the last minute. They had those 2 Mandalorian episodes were planned 6 months ago.
Yeah, but
that's how they wanted to do it 6 months ago.
But
studios, I don't see them doing a whole new reshoot in a week before the show is released.
I agree with that. But what they do is sometimes they film other stuff just in case something isn't working out.
Having the queue.
Yeah.
A few last minute edits. Yeah, correct.
They do other scenes and other edits and stuff just in case, like, or maybe this won't work out, or maybe the fans won't like that. Maybe we can throw this in there in case that tanks. That could have happened. Like, we don't know. This is all speculation. And yes, you are right. Like, there's no way that they're going to see that people aren't liking the show, and then all of a sudden just throwing Mando in there. But they do screen tests. They have people come in and watch stuff and be like, hey, what do you think of this? And they could have told them, hey, this is garbage, man. Like, I'm not digging this. Like, you got to give us something different. Oh, we'll give you Mando then. So they could have done that as well. It just felt, to me, it just felt totally offbeat. It didn't work for me. That's just, I'm the bad guy. I'm the devil's advocate. I wasn't a fan.
Well, I mean, that's true, because like what Harris said before was that this felt like Boba was a hero and not really a villain. And he's supposed to be, okay, you could turn him into, like that sand person story could turn him into a hero by the end. But what he's supposed to be is, like, in my view, and I think to make this, it's hard to do. But what he should have been was like a Tony Soprano, like a godfather of this town. And
that's kind of where I saw it going.
It's really hard to do it. Like when you saw that scene at the end of Mandalorian season 2 post credit, where Boba Fett sits on the throne after he like outs Bib Fortuna, you get the feeling that this is going to be like a Godfather-esque Tony Soprano type of situation. And that, like, let me tell you, if you don't know what happens in those shows, The Sopranos, or in like the movie The Godfather, is what happens is you come to the Godfather for help. You come to Tony Soprano, you come to Boba Fett for help, like some people do in the show, and they ask you for something. And what happens is they always grant you whatever you want. So if you need help with your family, or you need help with some thugs, or you need help with your business, but you're always left worse off. Like, they are a villain, like through and through, and they only want to use people. And I honestly wanted to get, like, when you have a great character like this, who, Darth Vader talks to directly, Boba Fett just nods, like, he's pretty badass. He takes out Han Solo, he's got him as a bounty. We know he's a bounty hunter. He outsmarts Han and Leia when they try to do their trick at the asteroid belt and stuff like that. And what we should have seen was characters come to Mandalorian, or come to Boba Fett for help, such as like the bar that we saw get blown up. You could have utilized these same characters just in a different way. Those people come to Boba Fett for protection. Boba Fett grants them their wish, but leaves them worse than before, because that's what these guys always do. It's hard to do that and to make the audience like the character. But that's when a real hit happens, when you could really do it. Like when you have a Sopranos type of character who nobody in the show really benefits from Tony, but the audience keeps coming back for more and more and more every week. They would have watched forever and ever if it didn't only last, 7
Yeah, but you're talking HBO versus Disney, and Disney's not going to do that.
Yeah,
No way is Disney
Yeah.
going to
People love
go
the
down
bad
that
guy,
dark
though.
path.
it's so tame.
People
We're
love
getting
the
a tame
bad guy,
version of
guys,
Star Wars.
You know how many 3-year-olds do you know that love Darth Vader? Well, Darth Vader was a ruthless son of a bitch, but yet you'll see 3-year-olds that love Darth Vader. So why do 3-year-olds love Darth Vader, the Adolf Hitler of the galaxy? I mean, come on,
I don't know.
I don't get.
I don't. Yeah, I don't know
mean,
why they didn't take the chance here when it seemed like a small stage. It seemed like a small stage. Now, I didn't. This is before I knew that they were going to post, 2 Mandalorian episodes as episodes 5 and 6 here. I thought this was like a playground, almost like the WandaVision was like a playground for Marvel characters and things like that, like something that's offbeat from the big movies, like the big tentpole movies, and can just be something else. And that's what we really should have got here. Like, I really hope if they do those trilogy movies that they're discussing, or they've been rumored when they're talking about the Darth Bane movies, that would be something where you're going to have to pony up and become that villain. That villain character is going to have to run the show, going to have to lead the movie, because that's what Darth Bane does. Like, he takes people, he uses them, he leaves them worse off than before if you're not dead when he leaves. It's ruthless. If they did this type of thing to Darth Bane, I mean, it's going to ruin everything. If they try to say Darth Bane is some kind of, nice guy. I mean, at one point, Boba Fett says, "I just want to help people." I mean, that's not the type of line that we want to hear from Boba Fett.
Darth Bane's story would actually work within the Disney agenda, because he really wasn't out for blood. Like, when he was a child and brought up, he was abused by his dad. He had Force abilities. They saw it in him. After he killed his father, he was taken into the Sith Academy, and he started learning the ways, and he wanted to learn more and more. So what Darth Bane was after was really knowledge. He wanted to know more and more and be better, and he kept challenging other Sith fighters in order to better himself. And eventually he climbed up, and he did the Sith way by taking them out in order to achieve his greatness and become the one and create the rule of 2. And in the end, he still ended up dying, because that's just what happens. You lose to your apprentice because you get old, or you start to get old. And that's what his goal was. His goal was, now that he achieved that greatness, now he wants the immortality with it. And he couldn't achieve that immortality. He got close to it, but his apprentice, I forgot her name, ended up taking him out. And so I think his story would work, because his story really wasn't, I'm just gonna kill everybody, and like, he had a purpose. He wanted to learn. So I think that would be great if they did his storyline, but if they did it true to what it's supposed to be, not what Disney's agenda is. Oh, let's make it friendly and let's make him a good guy. Like, don't do that. So yeah, I agree with you.
What do you guys think about them bringing back Hayden Christensen for the Obi-Wan series? And are they going to de-age Hayden Christensen, or is Hayden Christensen now, it's been 20 years since we've seen him on camera. He doesn't look the same as he did when Order 66 happened.
Neither does
he was
Obi,
young.
so
He
they're
was
going to
in his...
have to do something.
Well, I would rather them leave him and leave Ewan McGregor at the ages that they are now in real life, and go with that story of, it's now 20 years later since the Jedi Order has been disbanded. Obi-Wan, Obi-Wan is on the desert. He's living on Tatooine, right?
Yeah, but are you talking about flashbacks?
Say again?
Are you talking about flashbacks, Harris? Like, if they show a young
not so much
Anakin.
Flashbacks as much as the actual story goes.
Well, because Anakin
if they want to
in a
de-age
costume.
somebody in an actual flashback, I'm cool with that. I can get that.
I mean,
But
Anakin's
I
in
don't
the
wanna
Darth
see-
Vader outfit, so you won't see him if you're talking about actually seeing the character. I mean, he's
Right.
in a Darth
No, we're
Vader
not.
outfit.
You don't think he'll have him take his helmet off, and we'll
No.
see the?
I
No,
don't think so. No. I don't think they'll take off his helmet.
I think that's part of fan service.
I mean,
think
they
that's what
might if
Disney
he's
thinks
going
we
into the
want.
Bacta tank to recover or something, and then you'll see him all scarred up like in what was it, Revenge of the Sith that they did that, or
I'm against, them saying or trying to show us. I hope they don't trying to show us that like they had a lightsaber duel or something, because like it's supposed to be like a long time, it's supposed to be like that 20 years that I think. I don't want to have them insert other fights, like he's going to cross paths with Vader like more in between. That is going to ruin things for me, because like I
Right.
think he meets up with him in A New Hope and Darth Vader says, oh, like a presence I've not felt in a long time. And then when they are fighting, Obi-Wan's discussing how it's just been like the last time they crossed swords should have been Mustafar,
yep.
and they shouldn't be on Tatooine. Like that should be a story like a Western. Like this should be a story almost like a Clint Eastwood type of like the good, the bad, and the ugly. I don't even think Luke should be in there, but they have a child playing Luke, and they're saying Leia is going to be in there too. This is all sounding crazy. Like Obi-Wan should be fucking hiding, dude. Like what is he interacting with Leia and Luke? Like, no, like just chill out. Like he's supposed to be hiding. Like do some story that is really, really sweet. That's like a Western. Because you could play in this, for excuse the pun, this sandbox of Tatooine, and you could say, there's a gang over here, like Obi-Wan's got to deal with them, and just make sure that the Owen and Beru Lars don't get caught up in anything. Always having them safe, kind of having whatever action or adventures that Obi-Wan's going to have, but a separate and aside from Luke and Leia. That's a time for later. That isn't a time for interacting, I don't think, unless it's something very like Obi-Wan standing really far away, he waves to Luke, or something simple. But
I don't even think he should interact
Owen
with Luke.
says that's the crazy wizard or something. He shouldn't interact.
Yeah, he shouldn't definitely interact.
Well,
with Luke.
how do you guys think they're gonna bring in Anakin? Because they've confirmed it, right? That
I mean,
Yeah.
they might have them separate. Like they won't actually meet face to face or have any interactions within themselves, but the storyline will give the two, okay, Darth Vader's doing this, Obi's doing this, and their actions will affect the whole and come together.
right.
The story.
So we could see him on Mustafar then in his palace type of thing.
Yeah,
But
that'd be
then
cool.
he'd have to take the helmet off, or are they just gonna have Hayden in the suit? Like I don't know what they're gonna do.
I'm sure, because remember in Revenge of the Sith, he got burnt up, he got toasted.
Yeah.
So he's gonna have a bunch of makeup. You're not gonna be able to see a young Skywalker. He's gonna
Unless
be
it's a flashback,
he's gonna be all
There's
jacked
definitely a
up,
lot of
burnt, scarred
prosthetics in
up.
there.
That's if they show his face, that's what you're gonna see.
I think they could be, it could be like Hayden Christensen with like a wig on, and Obi-Wan kind of de-aged in some kind of like flashback scenes of like just them being friends, because we didn't really like they said
That's what
it
I'm
more
wondering,
than
too.
showed it about the friends thing. I mean, that's where I would imagine like Obi-Wan might be thinking of his failure, and maybe he remembers these like friendship moments. I kind of hope that that's what it is, honestly. Like that's what would be tender. That's what would be logical, and like would promote the ideas that we already have about their struggle. But to introduce like an interaction between the two, unless it's some kind of distant like force talking or something, I don't know, like force like feelings or something, I think would kind of ruin the way A New Hope comes in. The way A New Hope comes in with like, we haven't seen each other for a long time and all that stuff. I think for that to work, we could have Hayden Christensen in like flashbacks of like them doing missions together. Maybe there were, in during the war, and there was some moments where we saw Anakin saving Obi-Wan that we didn't see in the movie or something.
Yeah, I would love to see some flashbacks, like put them in the Clone Wars, like bringing the Clone Wars into live action movie a little bit, which would be cool to do that in a flashback scene,
Do we know the timeline for this?
I think the timeline is like 5 years after Episode 3.
Yeah, I mean, we don't have much time left with Obi-Wan. We saw him when he was young, under Qui-Gon. We saw him when he was older, more mature, on his own, training Anakin, and we saw him when he died. So what's left? I mean, we saw him as a young guy in his early 20s. We saw him in his 30s and 40s, and we saw him when he died in his 60s and 70s. Right now, what's left? 50 years old, which is how old is Ewan McGregor now in real life? 45, 50?
Before his battle with Maul or after?
That I don't know.
During.
Has to be after.
I think this is before.
Which battle? You mean where he kills Maul?
Yes, in the desert.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, how cool would it be to have Maul in that story? Now, I mean, are they going to do that? To me,
redo it.
That's what I would like to see. I would love to see Ray Park come in and play Maul.
Oh wow!
In the because that in itself, the Obi-Wan and Maul thing was a great little, a play.
Yeah, but it's also like this is
turning
into a very small galaxy. Very small.
Yeah, it is.
It's like only these characters. It's like the Brady Bunch. It's like only these six people can come through.
Like they'd redo the mechanical legs and CGI and the whole nine.
Well, I mean, look, later on they gave him robotic legs and he wears pants. Anakin had a glove over his robot arm and nobody knew it was a robot arm under there, Right. I mean, there's ways around it, or you could CGI. At one point, he had spider legs, if you guys remember seeing that in part of Clone Wars,
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's a lot of ways that we can go. I just think that it's Disney needs to stop with the fan service. And if you're going to reuse our favorite characters, use them in the right way, And that's where Filoni and what's his name are need to be left alone to do their thing a little more. I think if they had more creative control,
give me 1 second, guys,
and less people over top of them, I think that they could do a lot more and give us what we want. I don't think, as much as I loved it, I don't think they should have brought Mando into the story with Boba Fett. I love the character. I love it so much. I just bought a helmet. Rob, I'm going to pick your brain about finishing a helmet.
Go for it.
See if I can get you to help me finish a helmet. But I mean, I love the character. It just, we didn't need to see that much of him in the Boba Fett storyline.
I think personally for me, I'm done with the whole. Let's keep bringing these characters back. Like we know their storyline already. Like give us something different. Give us some Knights of the Old Republic. Give us their storylines.
Yeah.
Now I agree with that. But they tried to do that with the last 3 movies, and in my opinion, it failed miserably. And why did I've said this numerous times on our shows and discussions. They gave Luke a lightsaber and he threw it over his shoulder. That's not my hero, man. That's not what my hero would do with a lightsaber.
I mean, I get what they were doing with that scene, even though I don't agree with it. Like, I totally get what they're doing with it and why they did it and the whole story behind it. Like, I understand it. Was it something I would have wanted to see? No, but I get it. But what I mean is, I'm done with these guys. Like, we know their story, we know how it ends. Give us a new stories, new characters, or give us some Knights of the Old Republic stuff. Because to be honest, like I can watch those cinematics over and over and think and be like, this shit's way better than the regular Star Wars stuff that we be getting or have been getting or have gotten.
Right.
I would rather see that story expand, like some Darth Revan, some Malik, some like Anthony said, Darth Bane. Like I would rather see that stuff. I think that would be like freaking amazing. But can Disney stick to the story and expand it and make it what we want to see? And do we even know what we want to see? Because even when we ask for stuff or we want to see stuff, there's always going to be some of us that agree with it, don't disagree with it. Like we're the worst fans, but in the end, we're still happy we still got the content, right?
Can never please us.
Yeah.
I love the KOTOR universe. What a cool time for like the whole Star Wars story with, especially
Agreed.
for lightsabers. Man, double bladed everything, any color you want, multiple crystals. I mean,
so many more.
It was
Jedi.
off the hook. They could totally dive in head first in the lightsaber lore, and I'd just be like losing it.
They like, and I don't know if I've told you guys this before, but I'm a huge Star Wars fan. But to be honest with you, I think Marvel has been killing it. Like if they can give us that Marvel in the Star Wars, like that would be fucking amazing. And the Knights of the Old Republic, like dude, that would be killer. They'd kill it.
Well, they're Marvel is doing the characters justice, I think.
Yes, Marvel's killing it.
I don't think that Star Wars is. I don't think Star Wars is.
Like, just to get off topic for a moment, you guys see
and forgive me for cussing, I think the powers that be in the Star Wars camp are bumblefucking their way through it.
Oh yeah.
You know? It's just a cash grab.
I call it non-fan fiction. Non-fan fiction. That's what they're giving.
Nice. Yeah.
Marvel's just so much grittier. They're true grit. Like
but that's what we need in the Star Wars universe.
I totally agree.
It would be so much better. So much better.
Totally.
They got the capability to tell those good stories because they do it with with Spider-Man and all their different movies, and they captivate the audience with like 22 movies that culminate in a Infinity War, and that's what I mean. Star Wars needs to take a lesson from that type of thing, because they could have done they could do like a new Jedi Order series that culminates with the intergalactic war between an alien race. I mean, if they wanted to do that, but they should be building to something rather than just flailing like a drowning person, which kind of
I think they're trying to do that because obviously Disney owns Marvel now, and so. But they're the people that are in charge that are leading the way for the Star Wars universe. They're just not getting it. And I know Jon Favreau is putting his 2 cents in there, like, hey, dude, you got to do it this way. And he's trying to bring in that Marvel into the Star Wars universe. And I hope that somehow, some way, he just ends up taking over that position, that role of Kathleen Kennedy, and whoever's in charge, whoever's running this into the ground, and gives us what we really want to see. That would be fucking amazing.
Yeah, totally cool, like 80s stories. You just kind of rehash like sweet stories like in the Star Wars world, like a Tatooine story could be a Western. You have, because, basically like it was a World War II story, basically, like what we got in the original trilogy. Everyone loved it. It's really great to take like an epic story and make it Star Wars. I mean, it's not like really rocket science. David Hunter NYC says Star Wars should not reuse these classic characters, even though they were riddled with problems. When Vader's head was exposed in Jedi, the franchise was dead to me. When Vader's head was exposed.
I guess when
he took his helmet off.
Return of the Jedi.
You didn't like that? I thought that was great.
I did too. When I was a kid, though, I remember thinking he looked a little grandpa-ish at the time, but
when
Yeah.
Tom says like, yeah, in ESB when his like vacuum chamber come down. I thought that was cool. Like to me, that was like a totally 80s moment of like, I want to know more type of thing. Like the lightning that hit Vader when he lifted up Palpatine. People had, when the internet was like really new, people were like putting around pictures of the frozen scenes, the frozen like shots of the movie, try to figure out what part of Vader's head was any of it robotic, was the whole entire skull still there. This was before we got the prequel movies, so people were dissecting scenes in those Return of the Jedi and Empire Strikes Back movies just to try to see where was the scar, what could have happened, to Darth Vader. David says Jedi Hash keeping it real. Quit playing on my phone. Can I click this?
Yo.
They're buying more Mando time, says Tom. They're buying more Mando time.
It kind of seems like Favreau and his crew were left to the whole Mando thing. Like Disney didn't fuck with them too much. And look what happened. They came out with a great Mando series.
Yeah.
It's almost like this felt like Disney had their fingers in too deep in this whole Boba Fett thing. I just couldn't shake.
I wouldn't have thought
everything been Disneyfied.
Yeah, I mean, I guess because, like you said, of the popularity of Mando, they dug in here. But I just thought this was gonna like go under the radar of the executives. You could do something gritty, you could do something like Sopranos, you could do something like The Godfather, and maybe that would get by everybody. But like you said, maybe it's the popularity of Mando, and then they dug their fingers into this deeply, and it started to go wrong with too many lines for Boba Fett. It should have been just more nodding. Take the cues from there's certain times for the fan service, and then there's certain times when you got to make something original. But I think he could have done his nod a bit more, less talking, like the actor wanted in the first place.
Yeah, why don't they listen to these actors? I know Mark Hamill went through the same thing. Ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely, while I liked it, I don't want to knock it, because I liked it. It's Star Wars. We got it. I'm glad we got it. I just think they need to think it out a little bit and stop with the corporate bullshit and let it play out, man. Give us the stories we know they can do. Stop with I keep wanting to, I hate to bring up other worlds. I know we're talking Marvel, and I brought up Batman before. I'm a Kiss fan. Okay, you guys know Kiss? The group, the rock group. I mean, 1 million people bash Kiss because there's two guys in the makeup playing the same character from the 70s Kiss, Ace Frehley and Peter Criss, but it's not Ace Frehley and Peter Criss. But Gene Simmons and Paul Stanley, in my opinion, they're geniuses because they say, fuck what you think. We're going to sell concerts by having a total stranger in that makeup. And most people don't give a shit. Yeah, you're diehard fans. One Ace Frehley and one Peter Criss. Ace Frehley is old. Peter Criss is old. They can't hit the rock star like they used to anymore. So in order to keep it going, they keep the characters in what we know and what we love. And I get that. But, I don't know. I think they do it in a way that pays homage, that pays back street cred to what we had back then, what we fell in love with. And that's what I want Star Wars to do more of. Give us the characters that we love, but don't cheese them up. Don't chintz them up. Don't dummy them down for us. We know what they are. We know who they are. We know how they walk. We know how they talk. For fuck's sake, why did everybody go apeshit when we saw Cad Bane on screen? We've never seen Cad Bane in real world, right? But we saw Cad Bane, and everybody who followed Clone Wars went, Jesus Christ, we got Cad Bane. He's a newer character. Is he new to us? No. My son, 17, watched every episode of Boba Fett with me the night it came out, looked at me and said, who is that? Now, a week later, he's went on YouTube. He watched 1 million videos. And he and I watched the last episode again the other night, and my son was like, he's a badass motherfucker. And I'm like, yeah, he is. Yeah, he is. He's a great character. And I knew him from the Clone Wars, you know? That's what I want Disney to do. I mean, look, I'm nobody. I mean, Disney don't give a shit about me. What Disney cares about is selling product likeness, you know? And it's the House of Mouse, and we get it, you know? I'm appreciative of what they give us. But do our heroes justice, man. You know, do our heroes justice. You know, I'll give you another pop culture icon, and maybe I'm just older than you guys, which I think I am. But the Lone Ranger, you know, the Lone Ranger was huge in the 50s and the 60s, right? Now, the guy who played him was named Clayton Moore. Clayton Moore got old, and he was still out there pushing the character. Clayton Moore was doing public appearances. But you know what they told him? They told him, you can't wear the mask. You're not allowed to wear the mask. So he switched to these giant sunglasses, which absolutely look like dog shit. In my opinion, the people that own the Lone Ranger, this guy was doing them a justice. He was keeping your character alive when nobody was making any shows or movies or radio programs. So that's what I'd like Star Wars to do more of. Give us the character, the way that we know them, the way that we like them. That's fine. I get people age, and in flashbacks they de-age, but give us more of what we like. Did they do it? So that's kind of how I felt about the whole Boba Fett show, the whole series. I liked it. Did I love it? I'm sorry that's how I feel. And I'm a diehard fan. I'll never turn away from Star Wars. They could give a shit and put Star Wars name on it, and I'll buy it, you know? But I just feel that with the sequel movies, and now they're trying to give us, now it's too much fan service. You know, they went from one extreme to the other. I'm sorry, I'm ranting, but that's what we're here for, isn't it? Isn't that what we're here for? We're here to rant, whether it's good or bad, rant. That's what we're here for. You know?
I actually want to say something about the Obi-Wan, going back to the Obi-Wan series. I really hope we get some scenes with like him communing with Qui-Gon, and then I would love it. I would love to see Liam Neeson on screen again. Oh my God.
I would love it.
And then I really would like for them to dive in, because if he's in Tatooine and he's having to like kind of, I don't know what, restore his own lightsaber to some degree, because it's not getting used much, kind of like cleaning your gun, I guess, you know. And then you've got like Anakin's saber, you know, how maybe they explain how it changed such drastic looks from his original saber to the newest one, and really dive into like the disassembly and assembly of the lightsaber using the Force. There's just so many cool things they could do with this Obi-Wan series, but we'll see.
I agree with that. I don't think that they care enough about lightsabers to give us that.
Yeah,
I just don't think we'll never see that. We had the one scene where
I'm just being selfish.
The one scene where Luke was wrenching on the saber in the cave, and they cut it out. They cut that scene out.
Yeah,
I don't think we'll ever get anything like that. You know,
yeah.
To them, a lightsaber is a tool. You know, it's just like, you know, you go to your auto shop and you see your mechanic wrenching on your car with the hammer. Well, nobody cares about the hammer. You know, nobody cares if it's a ball peen hammer. Nobody cares. You know who cares? Another mechanic. You know who cares about lightsabers? Lightsaber builders. And that's what we're here for, right?
Yeah. Well, Disney cares a little bit because they have the whole Savvy's Workshop thing, which they need to step that up too, damn it.
Agreed. I would love it. I don't think they're going to give it to us, though. I don't think they're. Maybe. I mean, I don't know.
I'm just dreaming, but that'd be cool as shit.
Yeah, I get it. You know what I'm afraid of? I'll tell you my deepest fears. My deepest fears are they're going to beat this shit into the ground the wrong way, and within 5 years, they're already talking about this whole Starship hotel thing that they have is flopping, and they're going to close up Disney. Disney's going to close up Galaxy's Edge before a lot of us even have a chance to get there. You know?
You think?
You know,
Maybe the
listen,
hotel because
I
they overpriced it.
I lived in California for a long time, for a couple years, and I was a season pass holder at Universal Studios. And two things that I loved there: they had the Knight Rider car that you could sit in, and they had the Waterworld live show where guys were taking jet skis in this like 1,000,000-pound pool and jumping jet skis. Guess what? Those shows ain't there anymore. Because you know why? Because it's not relevant anymore. It's not relevant.
Yeah.
And that's what's going to keep Star Wars alive, is keeping it relevant. And keeping it relevant is satisfying the real fans. Because the real fans are showing our kids and the younger generation to be real fans and what works. You know? I'm reading the comments. Jedi Hash, I love your militant opinions. You're right. Take no prisoners. I like that. Right on, Dave. You know, again, I tend to rant a little bit. And it's only because I feel that strong about it. Boba, man, a few words. That's funny. So I'm sorry. I feel like I'm stepping on you guys tonight. I'm not trying to.
No, it's all good. What always amazes me is if you like sit down and talk with somebody from a different generation, like my stepson's 15, and he actually really liked the Disney movies. So it's almost like a generational thing. Whereas I think when he watches the OT with me, he's like, I can see why this is cool, but it does, you know, to him look dated because he grew up in a totally CGI world. Take someone like
I agree with that. My son is 17 and he feels the same way. You know?
Yeah. And like, I mean, Barbara was never that big of a Star Wars fan, right? But yet she loved Episode 5, where Luke was interacting with Grogu, lifting him up off the ground and floating him along beside him. She was like, "Oh my God, that's the greatest thing. It's so cute." To see them sitting with me, getting that excited about one of these Disney episodes, it kind of takes me out of my shell of like a hardcore OT fan. It's really cool to see, but
well, hey, you guys are lucky your kids like Star Wars. My kid is 20. He don't give a shit about Star Wars.
Yeah, I mean,
he has all this.
Listen,
like when I die, it's gonna be all yours. What are you doing with it?
Yeah, you definitely tried.
It goes both ways, Rob. It goes both ways because, like I'm a musician, and my son could care less about music. He likes basketball, but we connect on Star Wars. He's only liking Star Wars now. It's new to him. It's fresh. And like I was going to say when you guys were saying a few minutes ago, my daughter's 21. She loves Justin Bieber. I'm 56. I love Kiss in Boston,
Right.
So, and my daughter has tried to turn me on to Justin Bieber, and it just doesn't work,
Right.
It just doesn't work for me, I don't get it. My elevator doesn't stop at that floor,
Like,
so,
I'm surprised to hear that, like Barbara liked that, Dave, because when we're talking about the Luke deep fake thing and just kind of Luke being almost like a cartoon during scenes like that where you have Luke Skywalker and Grogu, we're actually watching nobody. We're watching a cartoon. Like, the reason why I think Yoda worked in the original Empire Strikes Back movie is partly because they had great puppetry and they had the great voice and the lighting and all the special effects that you could use to create the puppet character. But I think for it to not be like Muppets, you had to have the human actor interacting, selling it, basically, was the other component. Like, Mark Hamill was selling the idea that he was talking to a real character and not a puppet with somebody underneath it with a stick and stuff like that. So it is surprising to me. Maybe I'm old school and I just want things a certain way, and I want at least one actor to be there.
Well, her jam is Harry Potter. So that whole Harry Potter series is all just actors talking to something CGI
that's
even
a
there.
great example because, well, think about Harry Potter movies 1 through 7. Imagine how different they would have been if they had the same attitude as Star Wars does right now, since
Right.
Disney bought it. Because if they had the same attitude as Star Wars, they would have they wouldn't have let Michael Gambon be the new Dumbledore. They would have demanded that the other actor who had passed them do CGI or whatever for like the next 5 or 6 movies, because he passed away after the filming of the second movie.
But Ant, the two guys look so much close alike that I don't think many people even realized it was a different guy.
I mean, maybe to you, to me, they look completely different. Like one guy was tall and skinny, and Michael Gambon is kind of roundish and shorter.
Yeah,
but
I thought they looked alike.
My brain says this is Dumbledore, and it doesn't matter. I mean, if you have a talented actor, like that's what I'm looking for the actor to kind of sell it. I didn't need to see, CGI all over somebody who was going to be nameless and just to look like the original Dumbledore. To me, it worked. I think to a lot of people, it was fine. That's the type of attitude I wish they had with this, because if they did, we would see Grogu interacting with a real human being, and it would sell it more. I mean, even though it was successful, like, JediArmsDealer says his whole family sat back and really liked it. But I'm just not, I guess none of us know what was missing because we didn't have the opportunity to see it portrayed by someone. So we really don't know. We were basically watching a cartoon,
Yeah. I think the other part of it too with Barbara was just cuteness factor. She's like in love with Grogu. So you put Grogu in anything and she's like, I'm in, let's do it. So
I agree with David Hunter here. He says the writers for the first 4 seasons of Game of Thrones should be brought in to write for the Star Wars franchise. Agreed. I mean, I've said that so many times that Disney's got all the money in the world. They could have the best writers around. They could have George R.R. Martin if they just throw enough money. I don't know what the deadline would be because he'd probably never write it. But I mean, just as an example, like they could have anybody they want because their pockets are unlimited. And I think story first before, like it's almost like they decided like, oh, we need Mark or we need Luke Skywalker to be in the scene without actually saying, well, let's come up with like an effective story. And if Luke Skywalker enters into that story, then okay. But I don't know. It just doesn't seem like they do story first. Like it should be story first.
I agree.
But
what do you guys ever hear what happened with that agreement when they were doing talks for the guys that did Game of Thrones, stepping in and doing like a KOTOR thing? Why did that fall through?
I think I knew it back when I heard about it, and I was actually glad. Oh, I think what happened there was, tell me if you agree, was that it was kind of inadvertent, and this is why I think it happened, is because that Game of Thrones season 7 and 8 was such trash that they actually didn't want them anymore. Like when they realized what such hacks they were, like they're terrible. They actually couldn't come up with a story. Did you see that? That's why David Hunter said in his comment here, the writers for the first 4 seasons, because the season 5, 6, 7, 8, it like fell apart writing wise. But up through season 4, that very last episode too, where the character of Tyrion is giving his speech right before he goes to prison, is one of the best things anyone could ever watch, especially if you followed it for those 4 seasons and are watching like the culmination of the discrimination that's been put against Tyrion by that point, and just his railing against that in that speech was just fantastic. But the reason for that is because it was kind of lifted from the books up to that point, and after that it was more of a homogenation of what the writers thought was going to happen and what they were told was going to happen versus actually being able to lift off the pages of the books of the stories. But yeah, up to that point, it was amazing. David also says, make Star Wars brutal. the brutality was always there, but it's been rated G from the outset. Now, I don't know if the rules had changed, but you guys remember the original Star Wars had the skeletons of Aunt Beru and Uncle Owen, and I mean, I can't believe it was rated PG. I mean, that was scary to me. His family was burned up.
Disney
and I guess
took over.
roasted
That's what
from
happened.
lasers. What'd you say, Rob?
I said Disney took over. That's what happened. That's why it's not so brutal.
Disney-fied.
But it's all like everyone's so like they themselves are confused about what they will allow through and won't. Like I used the example the last time, and I'll bring it up again. Is that first episode of Rebels? Ezra throws a grenade, and a stormtrooper catches it and explodes, and Ezra laughs. So it's like, I guess they're hiding it behind humor, but it's still murderous, like these characters who are supposed to be heroes are laughing at blowing up one of the people who is supposed to be, I guess, are supposed to be evil, but we know from watching the sequel trilogy that even a stormtrooper can change their mind and try to become good. So it's pretty rude to throw a grenade at them when maybe that was going to be Finn, who was going to change his mind a week later, but he was blown up by a grenade. I don't know.
Well, look how much everybody tripped out over that final scene in Rogue One with Vader. That was pretty brutal.
Yeah.
That was well executed. So why are we getting more of that vibe?
But see, the difference is you're not seeing the gore. Like you're seeing him swing, but you're not seeing blood, or you're not seeing intestines coming out.
Well, that's Rob, that's kind of how I see like them doing the scene from Darth Bane you were discussing before. Because when you were talking about Darth Bane, I'm thinking, how would they do the scene where Darth Zana is a little girl and she like kills her cousin or whatever she does to her cousin? But they could do it like they did the Anakin scene where it's like, Master Skywalker, what are we going to do? And then they kind of cut. So you just assume like, oh, they got killed or something. But like they killed kids, but they just didn't show you the dead kids. But what did they do the other day? What was I watching? They had like I think I was watching something, if I try to remember, maybe it was Peacemaker or one of these shows I was watching. I'm really enjoying Peacemaker, by the way. If anybody else needs some influence to try that, to give that show a try. If you like that 80s humor of people getting hurt and you laugh and stuff like that, that's the type of humor that's in Peacemaker. It's pretty funny. I know I heard people online saying it wasn't good, but I watched the first 4 episodes of it. I think it's fantastic. I was laughing harder at something they said in episode 2. There's a character called the Vigilante, and he said something in episode 2 that like literally I laughed harder than any show ever. Just had to pause it and just laugh. It was so crazy.
He had to pause.
He had to pause it, dude. It was crazy. I was like, oh my God, this character. I was like, I've never seen anything like this. I was almost rolling on the ground. It was almost rolling. That's how funny it was.
Didn't Disney say that the killing of the kids in Revenge of the Sith never happened? Like you're not.
Why'd they say that?
I don't know. I thought I saw in a video where there's some unwritten rule where you're not allowed to talk about it when you're in Galaxy's Edge. Like,
oh, really?
Yeah, there's been instances where people have tried to bring it up with the stormtroopers, or well, what about those kids getting killed during Order 66, and they'll like turn around and walk away.
Isn't it great to be independent? Like Lucas was independent making those movies, and so fantastic to fund your own stuff.
Yeah.
They didn't want it to be scary for the kids or something in Disney World, so you're not allowed to talk about it when you're there. I don't know.
I'm sure. Like it is a horrific moment. Like when people see the Graflex lightsaber and say, "Oh, that's a lightsaber that killed 20 kids." That's a different viewpoint of it. And you know what else is a different viewpoint on Order 66 was that episode 5 of Boba Fett was just, I mean, epic moment of Order 66 happening. And if we're calling Grogu a kid, he was almost murdered too. He was almost murdered, but they had the last stand, like the last stand of the Jedi right there to somehow saved Grogu.
True.
But you guys notice in that scene that he had like this like halo, like he was looking through something. He wasn't I don't think the stormtroopers, I mean the clone troopers, could actually see him.
Oh,
You notice he
yeah,
had
you
like
bring
a
up-
halo thing, like kind of like a force kind of thing.
I thought
And
that
he-
was, yeah, I mean, I see what you're saying now, but I thought at the time when I'm watching, I thought that was like, in a soap opera when someone's having a dream
A
and
memory?
it's hazy.
Yeah.
It's hazy on the edge.
Yeah.
I thought that
So-
was like a new way of doing the haze. But
I'm
maybe
so
you're
glad
right.
you
Maybe
brought-
it was like a shield generator. I mean, or like a cloak that he was behind. Or
No, yeah,
something.
he was definitely not seen. He was watching them, but they couldn't see him.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, Rob, because I watched a fan theory video where the guy is dead convinced that Grogu's inside of R2. And if you look at the scene, there's like these teeth-looking thing at the bottom of the screen that go like in a half moon around Grogu, and it looks like the gears that would turn R2's head. So
Yeah,
he's like
he
looking
could've-
through the slit. I don't
You know what?
he-
I think I did see that.
Oh.
I know who you're talking about. I think you're talking about either Screen Crush or
Screen Crush, I think. Yeah,
Yeah, Ryan Aries probably.
I think so.
Okay, so that reveal would be the biggest reveal in Star Wars history since 2015 would be that Anakin saved Grogu. If he is inside R2, that means
R2
Anakin
was
rescued Grogu. How weird would that be? That in one sense, Anakin is execute Order 66. He's executing Order 66. At the same time, he's underhandedly. That would actually work into the story, though, because even the Star Wars fan fictions, if you guys had read any of these in like the 1990s, like I would sit at my job and we had internet, it was kind of slow for watching videos and stuff, but you could actually, probably took 4 hours to download one of the Star Wars videos that I wanted to see from like a George Lucas prequel behind the scenes thing. But while that was downloading in the background, you could easily download text files, right? Back in like 1996 and stuff like that. And people had all these Star Wars fan fictions up on the internet. It was like the Force.net had a whole section of Star Wars fan fiction. It was great. And there was some stories where behind the scenes, Darth Vader was consistently and constantly like going against the orders of Palpatine in these small ways all along the way from like the very start. And this would be, if he is actually the one that rescued Grogu, he would be doing it from the very first instance of the very first order, executing Order 66. He would be sort of going against, the orders of the Emperor at that point. I mean, I think that would work into the story. I think that would be like a I am your father type of moment. And also be good for Star Wars because you bring Anakin back to the center of it again, this is supposed to be a Skywalker story, and they never want to give up these Skywalkers. I mean, we should have moved on in the sequel trilogy to those new characters, but still, it's like, I'm Rey Skywalker. It's like you just can't stop with like now everyone's a Skywalker too. So it really is like the Skywalker saga even still. So that would bring Anakin right back to the center of it if they came out and said, listen, Anakin's the one that snuck out Grogu in the fucking R2 compartment that held the lightsaber in Return of the Jedi. Like that's, he was curled up in there.
Now
When
that
did
you bring that
Grogu
up,
get captured? Go ahead, Rob.
sorry. Now that you bring that up about him smuggling Grogu or whatever in the Obi-Wan series, if Anakin's gonna be in there as obviously as Darth Vader, it'd be cool to see if he had his apprentice Galen Merrick in there. What do you think about that? Is he
Oh my
canon?
God,
Bringing the video games to life from the Force Unleashed.
I'd love that.
The Force Unleashed was like
None-
2006. I don't know if they are they considering that like a canon thing? I really don't know.
I mean, it'd be cool to have like at least a glimpse of Galen. Like, okay, he's there. He exists. They don't have to dive into him, but tease us with them.
I
And
think
then
it's
that
way
might lead
more
to something
likely.
else.
Yeah, like since they have Ahsoka as Anakin's apprentice, which I never thought that Anakin would have had an apprentice, then they come up with Ahsoka. I mean, Ahsoka more, concrete Galen Merrick, I think, because if he has an apprentice as like a 24-year-old Jedi, I definitely could buy that he becomes a Sith and has a secret apprentice as well, especially going behind Palpatine's back, like he seems to be doing.
Well, he did that
A
in the
lot
game,
in
though, right?
Yeah, like it's a secret, and then not only that, but he's like cloning Galen Merrick too, so it gets a little complicated when you think about that. Galen Merrick was like, I forget which game it was. Was it Force Unleashed 2? You're actually playing through like you're a clone. Like you're not
Yeah.
you're not
so that
even
was in
Galen
Force
Merrick
Unleashed too.
anymore.
And in the Force Unleashed, Vader was out there killing Jedis, and he came across him and saw him as a child with Force abilities. He's like, let me take this kid and raise him and make him whatever, into who he became. So, I mean, that would be an interesting tease to throw in there. Because at this point, Anakin's already Vader in the Obi-Wan series, right?
As long as Anakin doesn't like take off his helmet and say, I just want to help people.
I want to rule with respect.
If that happens, I'm out. I'm checking out. That would be the straw that broke the camel's back for me, man.
I'm fuzzy on when Grogu was captured for experimentation. We were talking about hiding him in R2.
Or maybe he was captured right then, so like Darth Vader wasn't actually being nice. Like he was,
Right.
I don't know. He's like, yeah, come with me. I'll take you off on it. It will be no big deal.
Right.
And then the next thing you know, he's getting like experimented on in the cage over there with what's his name? Moff Gideon could be experimenting on him or something.
Oh, yeah.
Could hand him over to that weird doctor.
I want to see the baby.
Show me the baby child.
They could do a couple things with the baby. I mean, they could come across and say, like Mandalorian season 3. They could say, listen, that baby's really a clone. The original baby's still being tortured. You got to go save him.
Oh my god!
He's not the one.
What if he's a clone of Yoda?
Everybody that loves
What
Grogu.
if he's a clone of Yoda?
Yeah, that would suck.
What if he's another creature from Yoda's existence or family, or who knows?
Yoda's son.
I just want to hear the kid talk already. Like he's 50 years old. Like fucking say some words. Jesus Christ.
Jedi Hashir, you're going to be hired by the New York Times.
I read that. That's funny. That's funny. Hey guys, listen, it's almost past my bedtime. I'm ready to roll.
All right, Harris, thanks so much
week.
for your opinions tonight.
I love you guys. I hung last week until 1 a.m. and man, I was a POS.
You were hurting the next day.
Oh my god.
Oh, that's right. You're up late, right?
Yeah. I mean, I get up at like 5 a.m. go to work. All right, guys, I'm checking out. Y'all be cool.
All
right, Harris, have a good night.
Good
We'll light
chat.
it up.
Savor the moment.
How's the window?
Hey, I know that quote.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
Harris is actually using your. Here, he's
Can I
gonna tell
throw
you.
this out real quick? I want you guys to see this. I spent the weekend at Ant's house, and he did some solid justice for me.
That's beautiful.
Ooh,
Look at that.
crystals.
And this is a TriStar blade, and it's running Jedi Arms Dealers all his font setup with the 1 through 9 episodes. The fonts sound amazing. I heard you optimize them for the CFX, and for what we do with them, just sounds amazing. It's a great setup.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
And the blade it's the brightest blade I've ever seen. It hurts my eyes if I look at it for more than like 30 seconds. It's
TriStar.
It's running a TriStar, which I think Anthony said 350 or 360 LEDs.
Yeah.
Civilized Sabers TriStar. Man. And let me say this to you guys. I'm gonna bring this up if I can real quick, Ant. Over the weekend, Anthony and I were together and we were working on this saber and working on this blade. And I read some comments on Facebook by a guy who was kind of knocking Civilized Sabers. and I don't think he gets it. You know, our blades are not for dueling. He was complaining about battery length. I've been playing with this saber for about 48 hours now. I put a full charge in it, and it hasn't died yet. Let me see if I can get it to show battery life here. It's running halfway battery life. And our blades, to me, Civilized Sabers blades are a Lamborghini. You know, some guys want a pickup truck. Some guys want a 4x4. You know, this is a Lamborghini. This is a high performance blade. It looks the best. Am I going to take this and go join the TSL and bash the crap out of it at a TSL? Absolutely not. These are worth every penny you're going to pay for it. They are the brightest. They are the best. And if anybody has any questions about what it takes to build one of these blades, yeah, you can go out and you can buy a blade for $100. This blade is a little bit more than that, and it's worth every penny. We use the best and the brightest NeoPixel LEDs, and the process that we use to wrap the blade before it even goes into the tube and into the shrink wrap and into the tube and into the foam is bar none. Anthony has spent months and years in R&D. Christ, he started doing string blades 10 years ago, 15 years ago. And that guy that was knocking us over the weekend, he's got no clue. And I want to say thank you, because I also saw Mundo came to our defense along with one or two other people. And Mundo knows. He knows what's up. And if anybody has a question, Frank Harris at AOL.com. You can always reach me. You can reach me through Saber Talk. You can reach me through Civilized Sabers. And I'd love to talk about anything you want to talk about, as long as it's about lightsabers. The best and the brightest in the business. Built to last. Not built to duel with, in my opinion. Built to last. You want a duel? Go buy a $50 Ultra Sabers with an in-hilt LED, and it'll look good while you're at your con and you're bashing hilts. And you break the blade, it's $25 and you throw it away. You know? It's not a Civilized Sabers blade. Civilized Sabers, in my opinion, best in the world. And that's just because I work there. That's not just because I work there. That's because I believe in the product. That was a Freudian slip, guys. That was a Freudian slip. Best in the world. I'm sorry, I'm on a rant again. It's a rant night for me.
I'm loving this commercial.
I love you guys. Sorry.
Thank you, Jedi.
By the way, JediArmsDealer, you know, yeah, I feel a little left out. I want to stand. Those stands you make are beautiful. I don't know if anybody's seen one of your stands yet on the show here. Anthony has one on his desk there. And I want one. Let me know where to send the money. And I'd like a saber stand from you.
Okay, I can make that happen for sure.
Please do.
Let me add to that. Not only have I been going slowly deaf from DJing, I'm now going slowly blind from Anthony's blades and his advice. So that's the end of my commercial.
All right, Anthony, I'm gonna need one of those blades, buddy.
That's right. People they don't know. They haven't seen it in person. And it needs to be seen in person before you start making comments about that, you know? And you've seen it. It's the best and the brightest.
Well, that's why I got the light meter made, is because, you know, it is hard to tell on video, and if you don't actually lay your eyes on it. So that's why we test them in the light meter. Anthony, we forgot to test this in the light meter while I was at your place over the weekend. Well, I've tested TriStars though, so it's, you know, I got the numbers. Yours looked especially bright though. Yours was crazy bright. I was surprised because, you know, I was turning on my Dual Star Omega, which is the high resolution blade, and then we popped in that TriStar and was like, oh my god, I forgot how bright these were. Holy shit! The blade effects. The blade effects on this TriStar, the colors, the Where'd he go?
He dropped
Battery
out.
dad.
Maybe his battery went. David Hunter says, reinvent Star Wars. Make it like Game of Thrones with lightsabers. Yeah, that's what I thought the sequel trilogy was going to be like, where there was so many characters where we couldn't remember all their names. The way, like just to have so many characters, and like if you go back and watch Game of Thrones, you realize there's certain characters that were always there, even if they were just sitting at the table, like in episode 2, like you see Braun, who doesn't come in as a full character for a few more episodes, but he is there from like episode 1. He's like sitting at a table. Episode 2, he's there. There's a lot of people. You can't remember all their names, but eventually you become used to all their names and all their roles, because their importance grows. They take people from the background. If somebody dies, like Ned Stark dies, a couple of the background people who have just been supporting step up, and now it's like the uncle is there, and he's kind of taken the place of the father in a sense, or whatever. So that's kind of what I thought it was going to be. So you never knew who was getting, someone could get run through with a lightsaber. I did not think it was going to be Han Solo, but somebody could get run through with a lightsaber. And it's like, oh, I thought we were getting to know that person, but okay, we'll just default to the next person who stepped up. Another Jedi steps up, take their place, maybe a Padawan. So I thought it was going to be that type of thing. And then after we see the movie, we kind of go back and we're like, I'd love to learn the names of all those Jedi that we saw fighting. It was so crazy. They died, and who was that? And who got cut down by that Sith who was so fast? The martial arts were so crazy. I can't wait to go back and watch it. It was like the Matrix, But no, like we got just like 3 or 4 characters. They all had 3-letter names: Finn, Rey, Poe. Just for us stupid people, because we can't remember,
I would have liked to have seen them expand on the Knights of Ren, but they didn't.
Right. Those Knights of Ren should have been badass people.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Felicia says, lots of cool concept art the people came up with regarding possible storylines. I love the storyline or the concepts at the end of the Boba Fett and Mandalorian shows. Were they doing it with the Boba Fett? I think they were showing the concept art. That was something special. I like that a lot.
Yeah, I'd go to Barnes and Nobles and pull out the books right after they'd come out of all the concept art and just sit there, flip through them for hours. Super cool stuff.
Yeah, Felicia, a lot of people think like you do. They had a great time watching the show. We were mostly very picky because we had super high hopes for. For us, it's like a little more than like entertainment. It's like we expect more from these characters who we kind of put on a pedestal from the 1980s.
Disappointment by now, though, right?
You would think so, but they keep digging farther down in the bag to grab new characters to hurt
hurt us with.
Solo Sabers LLC, Jeremy, thanks for being here. Just tuned in the first 2 minutes, I went from OT trilogy to Justin Bieber to Boba episode 5.
It's a wild ride up in here.
What's up, Jeremy?
Jim Smith says Richard Harris is amazing, but so is Michael Gambon. Yeah, I like Richard Harris Dumbledore. I wish that he remained, but the type of Dumbledore that Michael Gambon played was more like the type of Dumbledore I think that we kind of saw in the books, like a little weirder type of Dumbledore.
Yep.
David Hunter says, yes, story first. It all starts with the screenplay. And Jim Smith says they actually thought Gambon was doing the voice of on a CG Harris, but it seemed so outrageous an idea. Oh, they actually thought of Michael Gambon doing the voice. Oh yeah. I mean, that's just too much. I just think the audience needs to be trusted a little more, and we need to go back to like loving what actors can do. Because I think if we let somebody else be Princess Leia in Rogue One at the end, maybe there's just a little something that actress could have given us that was new, that was different, that we could have accepted as Princess Leia. And it would also allow us to go forward accepting other people as Princess Leia or Tarkin or whoever. technology was not there to do it either, says Jim. Yeah, I mean, it's great with animals and stuff. Like they could do a lion, like in that, was it like the Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe movies they had about 10 or 15 years ago? You know, the animals look kind of real. Like they like the lion. The
Life of
lion
Pi.
looks real. You know, like werewolf. They can do werewolves really good, and hair. They got the hair down and stuff like that. It's just people. It's that uncanny valley still that something is wrong. That's why I think an actor is more deserves the role than like a team of CGI people, because the actor can bring something to the table that we haven't thought of. Like, oh, we didn't think of doing that with our mouth. That looks good. That works for Tarkin. You know what you just did there. You know, or the way they're standing brings something new to the character, or the way they move. You know, maybe bring something new. That's what I'm kind of hoping for. You know, when I see somebody new, like we talked about earlier, like in a sense of James Bond. You know, when you saw Daniel Craig, you never really got that physical of a James Bond before Daniel Craig. Daniel Craig comes in, he's ripped, he's got broad shoulders, he was throwing punches and kicks. It was more of a brutal fight guy than like a Pierce Brosnan, who was more like using his like
Toys.
Yeah, PPK, you know, from far away type of thing, taking people out on skis and stuff. It's just a different, it's a different thing, but we can buy it. That was kind of my thinking. Jim Smith said the Motion Picture Association cracked down on ratings for movies in 1981. So 1977, when the original one was filmed and probably got their rating, it made it through with a PG. Plus it was probably blurry and kind of hard to see. And then when we, and it was very quick too, right? And then when they showed Aunt Beru and Uncle Owen burned to a crisp, but then when they refine the film and re-release, and everyone's looking like HD at these people burned to a crisp, it's pretty harsh. Yeah, like this is what I was hoping for, David. David Hunter, NYC, says the characters in Game of Thrones were three-dimensional, deep, and complex. Star Wars characters are cartoons. There was depth to Vader and Solo, but it didn't go deep enough. Yeah, like they could have done something, because there was a whole movie about Solo. They could have really shown something there. You know what would have been interesting? I think for Solo would have been something tragic that we wouldn't have expected. Like, we should have seen Han Solo go through something tragic that never gets mentioned in the OT and stuff, and we would find it not hard to believe, but we would be surprised. I think would have worked.
Losing Kira was pretty tragic, like, because he loved her and he tried to get her back, and she just wasn't having it, and she left him behind at the end. I actually enjoyed Solo.
She was alive though, like she was okay at the end. I think they wanted her to maybe go on and be the leader if there was going to be any further content from that universe. She would have maybe been part of what was it, the Maroon Sun or Crimson?
Oh, the Crimson Dawn.
Crimson Dawn.
Yeah.
It seemed like she was like going to take that over or something, and
I enjoyed Solo too. That's one of my that and Rogue One are my two favorites so far out of the Disney ones.
I saw some like issues with Solo, like when Harris was talking earlier about like all the member berry stuff. There was a little too much of that in Solo for me, like to show like how he got his gun, how he got his name, all that stuff is like too much of that. Like leave that, like that's the stuff. Like what they don't get is I think because like these people making this stuff, like just to be blunt and just to the point, they're just not cool people. Like, so when you're not cool, you don't know how to be cool. And like, you don't know how to fucking play it cool. Yeah. And like, play it cool, because we don't need to say how he got his name, and we don't need to see how he got his gun, especially when it's so freaking shitty. It's like, oh, like the guy, takes apart his rifle and says, "Oh, here's a part of the rifle. It's the handle part. It's like a rifle carbine, and I'm going to give you the pistol out of it." Done. That's not interesting. Like maybe if he got it in some great way, like a really great way that it had a story to it. There
Like
was
in a
something
fight, a
to
gunfight
it.
or something. You came up.
Yeah, like something other than here's the pistol for you. That is that's not screen worthy. That happens
Right.
off screen. Like he walks in with the holster and he's got it already. Like if that's your big idea, don't do it that way. Save it for someone else. Like you're going to show the Kessel Run. You're going to show the Kessel Run. Like I could have told you this shit when I like in my sleep. Like what should we do with it? Like here's the things we don't do. Like we don't show how he got his name. We don't show how he got his gun unless there's like a really, really awesome reason. And we don't need to show the Kessel Run. I mean, unless you're going to make that like the main culmination. A couple great things about Solo was showing the full way that the Millennium Falcon was supposed to look before like the front nose of it got disengaged. I guess it's like the escape pod or whatever came off the front. That was something kind of cool.
Oh, that was my favorite part, was seeing what the Falcon looked like when it was brand spanking new. That was dope.
I just feel like they diminish things like the Kessel Run when they show him like cheating to achieve it in a sense.
Yeah.
Like I don't know. Like that's that was another situation of you're supposed to see that character as more of a criminal, I think, and they tried a little, but it was like he was like a cutesy criminal. At the beginning, like he was like, the car chase and stuff, but he should have been like more of a criminal to where Princess Leia, like if Princess Leia was to look at his actions from her perspective in episode 4, she would have not dated that person. She only could accept, this is what I think, she only should and could accept the Han Solo he was in ESB or episode 4, more like ESB. Because you remember in ESB, she's still like, get away from me, don't touch me, I don't need your help. So the type of person Han had to become for the hero, because for him to turn around and to come rescue Luke Skywalker in episode 4 at the very end, after we've kind of forgotten about him, that's when he's changed. That's when he becomes the hero. But for you to show me in Solo that he was this good guy, like diminishes his act of changing into a good guy in episode 4. So all throughout Solo, we should have seen like every action, even if you could have laughed, like if he had an action that's funny or whatever, he does something, but your second thought, like your first thought could have been a laugh. Your second thought should have been, oh my God, that's kind of cruel. Or like you would have seen him do something like, he's a fucking bully. Oh my God. And then he does something else. You're like, oh my God, he's half a terrorist. Like that's the type of shit you should have thought when you saw Solo. And then when you see him walk in A New Hope, you're like, this guy's kind of bad news. I don't know. Do you really want to like take a flight with this guy? Like that's the type of thought you should have had, rather than like, oh yay, our hero. Like no. Like he should have been almost like he should have been a C word. And you should have got that throughout, even if you giggled, even but that should have been your second thought. Be like, I don't want to cross paths with that guy. He's a good shot, but he's got bad judgment. Like that's kind of what should have been the thought coming out of the movie. For Solo,
I agree.
To kind of bring you into like, you have to walk into A New Hope with the same feelings as when you like arrive in New Hope,
He wasn't scoundrelly enough for space.
Yeah,
wasn't.
Right.
I agree.
Jim Smith says you can be booted from Savvy's workshop if you mention the youngling death.
That's what I saw was kind of going around.
Cole Weathers is here. What's going on, buddy?
What's up,
Thanks
Cole?
for joining in. Mundo says, what if he saw in the premonition and he saved Grogu before Order 66 actually came through fully. That
Why
means
would
he would have been thinking of Grogu more than Padme.
I don't think Anakin saved him knowingly.
Yeah, he's just like distracted by all his adrenaline and like negative dark side energy that's flowing through him, and he's not paying attention to what's inside R2. He's like, get in the ship, R2. We're fucking late.
R2's like, but wait.
We have Nemoidians to murder. Why are you so slow, R2? You're acting like you have bricks inside. Hurry up.
Or did R2 save the day once again?
Yeah, R2. Yeah, maybe he like saved Grogu from getting experimented on for a little longer.
He made the corporate decision.
He made the executive call.
This little guy's going to be important one day.
Are they doing a Thrawn movie? Jim Smith says, I hope they get Thrawn right. Or are you just saying like in the Ahsoka series?
Yeah, I think
you hope they get Thrawn right. Yeah. That's going to be tough because they already kind of started changing. They even got the author of the Thrawn trilogy to like cuck Thrawn a bit in the new novel, because like they got Timothy Zahn to write the new novel, and Thrawn is like kind of like cucked a little bit. Like he's not the same Thrawn as like that like art loving sort of culture dissecting, weakness finding, ruthless leader he was in the books. Mundo says, what about Luke's clone? Yeah, Luke, the one with like multiple U's in his name. I don't know if if Palpatine is alive like they said he was in episode 9, he definitely would have cloned Luke a bunch. Like he's not playing games. Like that's why those movies weren't really thought through. Because like if Palpatine really was alive for all those years, were like Rey to grow up and all this stuff, and like he would have had that hand, wouldn't he have had the hand? And he would have cloned that Luke Skywalker over and over and over and over and over, and had an army of Lukes, and he would have had enough time for them to grow up because Rey grew up.
Yeah.
Rey was 25 years old, and she would have had to face like 3,500 Lukes that were all like Quasimodo, Hunchback of Notre Dame style Lukes. She would not have been able to deal with it. I don't care how many rocks she can float around. She would not have been able to deal with that.
I'm all the Jedi.
Oh, me and JediArmsDealer were actually talking about this a couple months ago. David Hunter, NYC. I've harped on this for a long time. I really wish someone would make a retractable blade. We need an Elon Musk to throw millions of dollars at this project to get it done. I can always dream. We got like a saber dream team on the screen right now. We could like maybe make a retractable lightsaber. Like between the three of us, we got to be able to make one.
Have you guys seen the video where they have created the first for real hologram, and it's like a lizard on a rock about this long? And it's
I don't think I saw that.
No, I haven't seen that.
Yeah. I'll try to find it for you guys and send it to you guys. It's pretty mind-blowing, but it takes some pretty powerful power supplies and lasers, and it's like a laser culmination type of thing. But I'm watching it going, man, there's no reason why you couldn't figure it out with the lightsaber somehow.
Yeah, I think that's got to be coming. That's got to be coming.
Yeah.
I told you guys,
big,
hologram
like, the
blade
module.
coming up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's what it's going to be, Rob. I think it's going to end up being a hologram blade.
Like, would you guys do it if, would you guys build a holographic lightsaber hilt if you knew at the end the electronics and the equipment to like build the thing would end up making it be like the Galaxy's Edge size, like really thick? Like it would have to be like really wide and big. Like, would you still make it?
You know what? What I would do is I would make it longer. Instead of fatter and shorter, I'd make it longer and skinnier to fit the components.
Yep. Agreed.
That would be my engineering behind it.
Yeah.
Like, okay, if we got to put all this shit in here to make it work, Instead of having a chunk, let's just thin it out and make it longer.
It's like those first master replicas, that Anakin electroluminescent blade lightsaber. That thing was a beast.
If we could
Huge.
somehow figure out a way to make it, that thing was ridiculous. That was 3 times the size of a regular
horrible.
maybe 4. It was so big.
I still loved it, but it was horrible.
Like that Clone Wars or that Attack of the Clones Anakin lightsaber was so petite. When you actually felt the size of the screen accurate version,
right?
And then the MR or the Hasbro version, whatever it was just like 3 or 4 times as big and as heavy as you would imagine something 4 times as big to be. But it was great. It was glorious. I mean, we bought them. Me and my friends smashed them to bits with those electroluminescent blades in the winter. I think I told you guys that story.
Yeah.
I would rather have a backpack, like a belt or a backpack with a cord. Like if we needed like extra juice to run it, let's like make a backpack with the juice in the backpack or something.
Like a jetpack, but it powered a blade.
Yeah, just so like it's like an ancient type of situation, like ancient Jedi type of situation.
Yeah, wasn't there a Jedi that had a jetpack or a backpack that powered his lightsaber? I forgot who it was.
Weren't they all powered with like a external power supply in the very beginnings, you guys? Like with
I think so.
And
this is like
the crystal would stick out of the hilt, right? Type of thing. I don't know. Maybe I dreamt that.
No, you're right. I do recall seeing that.
Here, I'll pull this out real quick. Let me pull this out real quick so you can see this background. See, that was a picture I drew of a Jedi, with the backpack situation and all. Ancient lightsaber fighting a bunch of Mandalorians.
Speaking of the laser lightsaber, have you guys seen that really well done video of the guy that fires up, like it's like he's working on his first lightsaber and he fires it up and you can tell it's like a laser coming out of it, but it's thick and he can adjust the length of it. And so he turns it all the way up and it I think it shoots out through his ceiling or something. And then he goes outside and turns it on and you see this jet airplane coming out of the sky all cut in half.
Oh shit.
It's like one of those special effects like maker type of videos where it's like you can do these effects at home.
It kinda, it's not that. I know the guy you're talking about, because this goes on for a little while, a few minutes of all the things he does with this adjustable laser lightsaber, and it's done really well. I'll try to remember to send that one to you guys too. Oh damn, you guys are still at it. We're hardcore, man.
David Hunter says the original Blade Runner was cool. Blade Runner 2049 was not cool. Gave lip service to being cool, but wasn't cool.
I haven't seen it yet.
It's like something that's like you either have it or you don't. And you could have it and lose it. It's almost like it's like a passion. It's a drive. And like you could argue that George Lucas had it, for the OT, and then maybe somewhere along the line maybe lost it. Even during making the OT, the original trilogy, he had his ups and downs, and he got sick for a while, and it took a lot out of him. He had such a passion for it; it was killing him to deal with all the behind the scenes problems and stuff. And that's just what happens when you are really passionate about something. It means everything. So when you come back many years later and try to remake something or make a sequel like Blade Runner 2049, I went to see that in the theater. It's like the thing is, when I think Blade Runner, I get these images. They're all from the first Blade Runner. They're all from the 1979 Blade Runner. I think that's when it was, whenever. They're all from the original Blade Runner. And it's like, it's not because it's from the original, but it's because of the quality. It's these newer remakes are not memorable, I think, is kind of what happened. Because if you guys said let's turn on Blade Runner, I think all of us would go turn on the original Blade Runner. No one's going to turn on Blade Runner 2049.
Right.
Even though I would give it another shot, I would watch that one a second time. But I went to see it in the theater. I do remember it was like a little bit too long. I didn't like what they were trying to insinuate in it as far as what characters were what and how they were leaving it. I wasn't happy with that. But they just seem to want to, with like newer stuff, they want to try to be cool. So it's like, oh, if we make it complicated and, people are going to think this is cool. It's like, well, you have to be a thinking person. You have to like think about it. When you go home and think about it and it no longer makes sense, you can't go deeper. You've got a problem, like when you go home and think about the sequel trilogy and you really think deeply about Rey and Finn and what they did with those characters and try to imagine those characters as real life people in the Star Wars world. Would they act that way? Would they do those things? And when like the logic doesn't play out, things start kind of going wrong in your head. At least that's what kind of happens to me. It's like I tried to accept it because like Harris was here before saying he loves Star Wars so much it could give him whatever and he will try to love it. That's exactly what happened with me. I went to see those movies and I tried to love it. I brought my friends back. I went to see it a third time with different group of people. You got to come see this. And at the same time, I was still deciding what I thought of it because I was blinded by just the love of Star Wars when I saw those sequels.
Yeah, I walked out of the theater after Luke died, and I zoned. Like I didn't know how to feel at all. I had so many mixed emotions. Like, what did I just see? Really, he's dead? Like, I was pissed. I don't know. It was weird.
Then I had to think of like what other things Luke was doing in the movie, and it just started to seem like less and less like what Luke would do, at least from where we last left him. And I know it had been a lot of years, like it was many, many years, like 40 years in the timeline had gone. But from what I know about like filmmaking, which is zero, but like I know one thing, and it's like you show on film the interesting parts. So I felt like if they're not showing us like what happened exactly, except for that it was like a flashback of the temple burning, I guess it was unimportant. I mean, I can only draw so much because you're only giving so much. Like what I know about film is like you show the important stuff. So like, why are you holding back on that stuff? Well, they're like, oh, wait for the next movie, the Knights of Ren, et cetera, et cetera. And it's like, well, that didn't pan out.
Yep.
Rob, pull up that saber again. I've been following that newest one you're working on. You got to show that to space. Oof.
Wow.
Whoops.
You've been machining the heck out of that.
Yeah, I'm not done with it. Like I still got to do the board, but everything is done and pre-wired. Like here's the crystal chamber right here.
It's like a Satil Shan style emitter.
That is sexy.
Very nice.
Yeah, man.
And then there is the blade plug. See if I can get it to focus.
Did you machine that plug from scratch?
I just did the brass part. The aluminum the aluminum part is from Saberford Scratch and Dent. I got a bunch of those still. Great. So I just bored it out and did the brass plug and put it in there.
That looks really good. Crystal chamber's tight.
So here is the internals. Obviously, it's missing the board.
Nice. That's close. You're close with it.
Oof.
So it's all wired up. I just need to put the board in.
You waiting on a CFX, I assume?
Yeah.
Are they out at TCSS?
No, they have them. I ordered it. Just waiting for it to come in.
I like the way you did the buttons there. Like the brass surround.
Oh, yes.
With the clicky buttons. Those are cool.
Yeah.
That looks classy.
Super smooth. Yeah, I'm never sure, like, if TCSS, if they're going to run out, and then we're going to go, like, forever before they get them again with this board shortage.
Well, me and JAD are kind of like hoarders. Like, we'll buy extra, and, like, I keep them in the drawer, and, like, JediArmsDealer, like, I got a couple extra proffies, and, like, I'll buy a couple. Because, also, I never know if I'm going to blow up somebody's board. Because, like, people will send me their board, and God forbid I could damage it. I mean, I don't know. So like I try to have like 2 extra on hand just in case. I don't know if I'm going to break something.
Or if it has a problem. I fixed
Yeah.
one of the thermal detonator boards straight out of the Plector baggie, untouched, unsoldered, and it had the thermal detonator board had a problem with the illuminating the red LED button on the top. That the little jumper resistor that feeds that LED pad was not bridged. It was the solder. It was a cold solder joint, so I had to go in there and microscopic it and bring it back to life.
Wow.
So you'll have situations like that where you need a backup board if it's something you can't fix, if it has a factory flaw. So it happens.
Yeah,
It's
I definitely
rare.
need to buy more boards and just keep them stockpiled.
Well,
there's
you know,
chip shortage.
like that used to get us into trouble when we would do that. Nowadays it seems better, but I'm sure
Yeah.
JD could like back me up
Ugh.
on this. It's like when it was the olden day and you buy
Oh, I
like
remember.
CF5 or CF6, and then like you get the announcements like CF7's coming next. You're like,
You're
fuck!
like, I just stocked up
Like,
on
I have
4 of
like
those.
7 of these other ones.
Yeah.
And now nobody's gonna want CF6 because the 7 was announced or whatever. But now with the boards being upgradable, I think there's less of a chance of like, you know, like if I had a Profi 1.5, I'd be just as happy as the Profi 2.2 whatever, because like to me it's the same, because I could turn that into I mean, maybe it's like a couple extra things with the wiring I have to do, but for the most part it's like the same to me. I don't
It'll
mind.
get the job done. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And like
Exactly.
you know, the Profi's so tiny. I remember when you know, when we're talking about those older boards, it wasn't just the fact that like, oh, they're coming out with the 7 or the 8, but it was the fact of like, you really wanted that newer one because the newer one might fit into your saber and the old one won't, or something. Because like the sizes would change, remember, and like they would get smaller and smaller. Now they're so small that there's really like, what saber do you want that it won't fit into? You could even put it into a Yoda saber, right? So
That Golden Harvest board's getting even tinier than Crystal Focus and Profi. That thing's kind of crazy. I kind of want to try one of those.
So I don't know if
wanna
I've
try
shown you
one
guys
too.
this one.
Oof.
Let me see if I can find a tool to take it apart. So this right here is 7/8
Jedi
all
Killer?
around. My Jedi Killer. See if it'll turn on.
what do you mean by 7/8 all around? The interior diameter?
Yeah, so the idea of entire hilt is 7/8, and I was able to squeeze in a. Let me find the tool to open this.
How did it end up being 7/8, Rob? Was that a pre-made hilt, or did you machine?
No,
It-
this
like-
is from. So this is originally a Corbett V1 crossguard.
Oh, I see.
And I machined
Back
the
when Parks
quillions
was
off.
still involved.
I machined the quillons off, and I made them flat. So they were right here originally.
Oh, I have seen your videos on this. This is cool.
So I machined them off, and I made them into like a Ben Solo style hilt. And so the whole idea of this is 7/8, and I was like, I'm gonna figure out a way how to make this a removable battery with the CFX, a crystal chamber, and a 28 millimeter speaker, which is right there,
Oof.
and it's loud.
Well, that must have taken some like boring out at the bottom, right?
And
That's to
the
get that
crystal chamber.
speaker in there.
So
Yep.
is there a separate chassis, Rob, or does the battery just kind of slide into the 7/8 inch
It's
tube?
all one chassis.
I gotta see this.
That's a 28 millimeter speaker.
Right.
All right, let me go find the tool to take this apart so I can show you guys.
Is it 3D printed chassis on the inside? Because I with the 7/8, you could barely fit an 18650 in a super thin chassis around the outside.
Yeah, so let me show you this. So it's one screw that holds it.
Nice. Yeah, that sucker's fully custom. I remember when you were building that.
And it's a snug fit,
Uh,
but there it is.
Damn.
Oh wow, that's so nice, man.
It's like paper thin
I
chassis
love the
around the
brass
battery. That's
part.
great.
Wow,
Yeah, man. Clean.
There you go.
that's fantastic.
So this was a tight squeeze to get all this
That
in
is
here.
cool.
It looks so clean. That's great.
I've got like 5 really old Park Sabers. I need that.
So did you see the
That's-
one I recently did where
Yes.
it was a 3/4 inch blade and I made it to 7/8?
Yep. Yeah, with
I was
brass. You had a
dreading-
brass to it.
Yep. The customer requested that, and I've been working on that for over a year because I was like scared to do it. And I was like,
I
dude,
saw you said dreading it.
yeah, I was dreading doing it. I didn't want to do it, but I kind of committed myself to it, and I was like, all right, fuck it, I'll do it. And yeah, I don't know how I pulled that off, but it worked.
Well done. That beautiful lathe. That
Oh,
thing's
dude, that
sick.
lathe, I love my lathe. I'm so happy with it. And if
I'll
anybody that out there that wants to get a lathe, I highly recommend spending the extra money and getting a digital readout. That will make your life so much easier and so much faster. Trust me, you will not regret the investment in a digital readout.
As in, it's built into the lathe.
Yes, it's built into the lathe. So it'll tell you exactly where you're at. So whenever you're machining anything, you can just zero it out where you want to start or end or whatever, and just start doing whatever it is you need to do. It really makes machining so much quicker and easier to have that digital readout.
I'll bet.
How
'Cause
much
you're not
table
having to.
space do you need for a lathe to work on sabers? Like, you need like a 1 foot by 3 foot space, or what's
So
the?
my lathe is actually full on floor lathe. It's huge. It's not a
Oh,
bench lathe. It's actually you can look it up. It's a Grizzly 0825, I think. It's like a $6,000 lathe.
How do you feel?
G0825, I think, is the number.
When I want a grizzly. That's for sure. One of the decisions I've made already. But how do you feel about the grizzly combo? That's the lathe mill all in one.
No, I don't recommend that because you're limited. You're
Yeah.
better off just getting a mill on its own.
Really?
I wouldn't
Okay.
I wouldn't recommend the combo because you're still limited on your axis movement, as opposed to having a mill independent of your lathe. You'll have better control of where you're machining what you want to machine.
Yeah, because I noticed you have separate, and I always wanted to ask you why you came to that decision.
Yeah, for that reason, just to give me more mobility and more flexibility as far as being able to machine different stuff.
Yeah.
making me jealous thinking about it.
Go get one, man. It's worth it. You won't regret it. I to this day, it's paid itself off. Like as soon as I got it, it paid itself off. So it's definitely worth the investment.
That sounds so awesome.
I just love the idea of being able to make an entire hilt from scratch. Like that's got to be a dream from
That
like
sounds
right
so
out of the
cool.
ether, man. Whatever.
And like the stuff Rob was showing last week too. There was another saber where you had all these like inlays set into it and all these parts that you custom made for it. It was crazy.
Oh, the
the
Jedi
pod racer.
The Jedi.
Your
Oh, the
pod
pod
racer
racer
hilt.
one. Yes.
Yep.
That was a combination of the lathe and mill. It was a lot of mill work to do this. Tons of mill work.
Yeah, I can tell with all like the gear looking teeth, and that's work. That's patience. When I do that kind of stuff on the micro mill, I'm like, God, this is taking all day.
It does. It takes a long
3
time to do all
days.
that. It took me forever. It took me. To be honest with you, I don't recall how long it took me, but I know it took me. Like I spent days on this thing, just hours and hours.
Those are like that's the best time spent though. Like I fight for those hours that could hopefully turn into days to work on this stuff. You know, like it's a fight to get them out of your life.
It is.
You know, to get those hours there and to get them in a row, because I always kind of say to when I'm telling my family members and stuff, I'm like I need like 6 hours in a row because I need to like forget what time it is and stuff. Like I can't be thinking about like, oh, the dinner's at 5:15 or you know what I mean? Because like the process of getting through this like whatever little problem that you're dealing with or design aspect is like it kind of time is not factored into that.
Yeah, it totally throws off your creative juices as well, because when you get in the zone, like I was totally in the zone when I was making this thing, and I was just like focused on this, concentrating on this, and when I had to step away from it, I would write down my little notes on what I was thinking, the direction I wanted to go with it. So I thought when I came back to it, I can just read that, look at it and read that and be like, okay, I remember where I was going, and then continue my process. because having
That's
stuff
really
in the back
smart.
of your mind, or having all these like schedules or things you need to do, and that will take you away from whatever work it is you're doing. For me personally, that I won't say it hurts my creativity, but it doesn't help it either. So
Slows it.
I
Yeah.
always try to find the perfect time, and if I have the perfect window, I'm like, okay, now is the time to jump on this. Like with that Park Saber I was working on to convert it to a 7/8 blade. I was dreading doing it because I wasn't mentally there for it. I wasn't ready for it. So I kept telling my customer, hey man, it's not done yet. It's not done yet. I'm sorry it's taking so long, but this is something that has to be perfect. Like, you get one shot at this. And if you fuck it up, I can't make this hilt for you because I don't know how to make this hilt,
Yeah. It's
So
an old
I
Parks.
have to be in the mindset to do it. And last weekend, I had a window to take advantage of all day. I had all day in the shop to work on it, which I did. It took me all day to just do that one part of cutting off the existing emitter, creating a new emitter, and threading it, and also threading the part that is going to marry to the grenade section, and then boring it out and making sure the parts that were originally on top of that we're going to fit it as well. So it's a lot of work to do that, and that's why I recommend having a digital readout, because you can always, it'll make your workflow a lot quicker, because you can see how much you're cutting, where you're cutting, how deep you're cutting, without having to constantly take out the calipers and measure and measure and measure, because you're seeing it right there live as you're going.
Yeah, my buddy Jack's got just a strictly manual lathe. I think it's 14-inch. It's a tabletop one, but it's the one from Harbor Freight. It's really nice. It's the bigger one from Harbor Freight, and we've put it through the paces for sure. But I know exactly what you're talking about, Rob, because you're sitting there counting rotations and watching the increments, in the British system, and I'm like, fractions. I'm like, this sucks. So I would totally love to have the digital readout, man. That's sick. And now is it metric? Is it metric or standard?
So it's both. Either. It gives me both readouts. It'll give me metric and standard. And even though I'm American, I use the metric system.
Me too.
I hate the imperial system.
I hear you.
It drives me nuts. Like, I'd rather dude, I love the metric. I will never leave the metric system. So whenever customers hit me up, and I can easily convert it, but when they ask me for stuff, I'm like, give me metric numbers, metric readings, and I'll do the work for you.
Yeah. Sometimes they disappear though when you ask them to do something like that. You're like, can you just send me, what size crystal chamber do you want? And I'd prefer it in millimeters, and then it's like, that's too much work.
and you know what? I'm okay with that, and I'm okay with that.
I'm like, well, they're not.
Yeah, because
not
like
serious.
I'm okay with that stuff too, because it's like they have to want it more than me for it to occur, because otherwise, like if I'm the one that wants it only, then I'll just do my own project.
Exactly. So yeah,
David Hunter says a hologram blade could be like Darth Maul's double blade to fit the components. It could be like a big saber.
Yeah, it would have to be big. I mean, as you mentioned, it would be a big fat one, but as technology improves, it'll get smaller and smaller and smaller. So eventually it'll be a normal size, and we'll get the hologram, and that'll be awesome.
Oh, it'll be the best.
You ever go to like the mall or something, and you see those guys in the middle of the mall, and they have those acrylic cubes, and they're like etching with lasers. It's a triple focusing laser that like makes like a miniature, whatever, the Eiffel exactly on the inside.
Yep.
That is the way I understand how this future hologram technology is going. They're using lasers and focusing them to make pixels in midair. So that where the three beams, or how many ever beams come together in midair, makes a pixel. So it takes a lot of lasers and a lot of processor.
Absolutely.
But that's where it's headed. Now, when they miniaturize that, we could very well end up with pixels in midair that come out of and retract out of a hilt.
Yep.
We'll see.
That'd be awesome.
Oh my God. All they'd have to do is like elongate the light. Maybe it would be conical, but really long.
Yep.
So We're getting there.
I would love to be able to fine tune the length of the beam, like with a little knob, like on some of
Yeah.
the expanded universe sabers, like Koran Horn
Totally.
and stuff. You could, or even Darth Vader's saber. Supposedly, he could change the length. That would be sick.
Yeah,
It would just be so sick to not have to carry the blades everywhere, to really have something that erupted from the hilt.
That's the revolution right there. We need that done.
Mundo says, I believe it was Dr. Machida, his series episode, making a lightsaber in his mind, an astrophysicist. Yeah, I remember seeing that episode was like on History Channel or something. They talked about making a lightsaber for a while, a real lightsaber. It was a number of years ago, though. There's probably more advancements now. Jim Smith says, if the Quylons on the hilt emitter fold out, that would be sweet. Yeah, there's one like, I guess it's a High Republic saber from the new book series that I think they do that on one of those hilts. Quylons like fold out.
That would help store more electronics if it was a crossguard. It's for like the hologram blade.
Yep.
Oh, thanks, David. He says, listening to you guys talk about lightsabers is the highlight of the show. You're all brilliant. Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
These are brilliant guys here. You have no idea the gems they're creating and they've created.
As with space.
Definitely. If you're not already subscribed to Jedi Arms Dealer channel, go over there. Subscribe. Do you have a YouTube channel, Rob?
I do. It's Rock Sabers, but I rarely post on there. It's once in a blue moon I'll share some work.
What's the name of it?
Rock Sabers.
SIRROC.
SOROC.
SORROC.
Yeah, and if you guys don't know, Rob runs, in my opinion, the best Facebook group for lightsabers, universal lightsaber community. It's awesome. They like kick out all the weenies, and they're really cool with mom jokes, so you know they can take a joke, and they're super cool up in there. I love them.
Speaking of the mom jokes, have you guys seen the Screen Crush? Ryan Aries going back and forth with the heavy spoiler guy.
No.
Oh man,
send me that one.
It's really low. Well, it's the whole thing. Is you know how Ryan Aries does mom jokes all the time? Like the Screen Crush guy's always throwing in a mom joke, like really low key. He'll be talking about whatever show or movie, and he'll say, "Oh, and like your mom, and this person, that's your mom," and then he'll continue going like nothing, right? It's just hilarious. Well, apparently the guy, I forgot his name, from Heavy Spoilers, he made a mom joke to him, and so he retracted back with his own like little comment, like firing back at so they're going back and forth, and it's hilarious. It's really low key. I'll send you guys a link. You guys can watch their breakdowns, and you can see what I'm talking about.
But you guys,
miss it if you're not paying attention.
That's funny though, because you guys are not so low key about your mom jokes.
Oh no, we're not. But you know, we've toned it down. We brought it down. You know, we want to keep the community happy.
Still one of your guys made a font that was a mom joke.
Oh yeah, he totally attacked me on that because I made a video and he made a font, bastard. That was Benji.
I'll have to send that one to space. Yeah, Benji did that. That was awesome.
Yeah, Benji did the font and I did the video. It's crazy.
He's like, if you're under 18, you probably won't want to watch this video.
I think I saw that.
Did
video.
you? Oh my god.
Yeah, that was brutal.
Great.
David Hunter NYC says, naive question here. Could you guys use a CNC machine instead?
Yes, but it's very expensive and it take up a lot of space. And so, yeah, it's if you have the capital for it, absolutely. I wish.
Yeah. I hope, Scott, I hope somebody doesn't like do that in a mass production type of way. Because I'm always dreading if like Disney, decides we're going to make a rotating crystal chamber and a metal chassis and make it look super badass. And let's just mass produce it, CNC it. I'm going to be like, oh man, no.
It would still cost a lot though, wouldn't it? Like even if it was this custom thing, or even if it was this mass produced thing, wouldn't it still be like $2,150 for something with
True.
like all that stuff.
Well, yeah, like the R2 Disney is 25 grand. You seen that thing?
Yeah.
No, it's a
It
real
moves
R2.
and it's
Yeah,
all
real
remote
R2.
control. Yeah, it's pretty legit but it's 25 grand.
Now,
You build
do
one for
places
a
like
fraction of that.
Yeah, exactly.
like as far as a CNC machine go, do you think like a company like Vader's Vault has CNC machine, or like
Yeah.
TCS
See, so here's the
Yeah.
thing:
right?
the big names like and I'm not gonna say Vader Vault. Well, maybe Vader Vault does do CNC. So like Vader
Absolutely.
Vault, Saberforge, all those companies, all these like kills that are like mass produced, that's not being done by one person in his shop or in a shop, like on a manual lathe or manual mill. That's requires consistent precision, and to be able to replicate something on a mass production scale on a manual machine is damn near impossible. Like you'd have to be fucking the best machinist out there to do that. To be able to make something once, that's not the hard part. The hard part is trying to replicate it. Like if I try to replicate this, dude, that it would be such a pain in the ass for me to try to replicate it. That's the hard part. So yes, I'm gonna say yeah, they do use CNC machines, and they say, hey, make this, and it gets made in mass production quantities.
Like with something like your lathe with the digital readout, can't you simply copy all the cuts and stuff like with the measurements and come out with something that's like exactly the same, at least whatever cuts the lathe can perform would be equal?
The answer is yes. The simple part is no. The answer is yes. The simple part is no. It's not simple. It's not that easy. It's actually very difficult.
Be a lot of recording. Even TCSS, the whole MHS system space is all made with CNC machines.
Yeah, it's all CNC. Like all these hilts like that are being done, they're all CNC made. There's not one guy in the shop just knocking them out.
Yeah, even if they're low run, they're usually CNC.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Even if it's low run? So what that would be like renting time on someone's CNC machine to get like a run of sabers popped out of it or something?
Yeah, I did that with the Master Replicas couplers. I rented someone else's, I just bring the design to them and they would mass produce 100 of them for me.
Exactly. So what you do is you have to have a CAD file or whatever, and you send it to them like, hey, I need this made, and they'll put it on their machine, and the machine will start knocking it out. They're coded for their machine, and they'll make them for you.
And if you can design in 3D and bring them the AutoCAD files, it's that much cheaper. And you just give them the files. As long as your files are good, they plug it into their machinery, and here's your 100 whatever else.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lower quantity version of that is I don't know if they still do it. I think they might. Is the custom saber shop will create custom parts for you, which I think has always been pretty amazing to have like the single use collector or custom maker able to order a completely one-of-a-kind part or one-of-a-kind material. Like there was a lightsaber that my friend Mike made for me, and he had Custom Saber Shop make one of the emitters out of copper. I know Harris has asked for bunny ears to be made of brass, and they've done stuff like that, and they've also done unique designs. I've sent them just a drawing, and maybe it was 10 years ago now though, so it certainly wasn't a CAD drawing. It was like just a drawing based off of what they call a blank emitter. So they have an emitter blank at the Custom Saber Shop, which is like a big hunk of aluminum with just the threads on the bottom, and you could kind of do whatever you can think of, whatever the machine's capable of. So I had come up with this. Yeah, I'd come up with this design for a Jedi Master Sentinel lightsaber that I did for my friend Dan. And we had just this drawing that I did. I was like, I want an emitter like this. And I drew it up in pencil, and he sent it to Tim at TCSS Custom Saber Shop. And Tim made us that emitter, which is like a one-of-a-kind emitter that I put brass screws through the holes that he had made for me. So it was, like totally a custom part for this lightsaber. So for someone small that doesn't know where to go, you could maybe try the custom saber shop first, as far as like a custom unique piece, especially if the piece starts with one of their existing parts for their modular hilt system. You'd be able to, potentially, get more than just like a hole drilled through it. You could maybe get it customized through them.
Yeah, CNC
Is that-
machine would definitely be nice to have.
Yeah.
Work a lot easier. So everything that I make and do, or that I offer for customers, it's all manually made.
So like with your pod racer hilt, Rob, did you ever make a drawing of that, or did you just kind of chuck it in and start going freestyle in your mind?
That was freestyle in my mind.
That's awesome. See,
That's
I
that's
had an
like,
idea, I had a vision. Obviously, like this whole part right here is like the pod racer engine, right? And then I just integrated the whole hilt and the gears. It kind of looked like I looked at images of like jet engines, and that's where I got kind of came up with this concept.
that's
and then
my favorite one.
And then just put it to work.
Yeah. Yeah, that's my favorite of all the hilts you've done. You have so many badass ones.
Thank you.
Mundo, you're back in here. Cool, you're still on. I wanted to ask you, which Rudy Pando crystal chamber did you get? I'm assuming for the Romans OB4, but did you get the newest one that does the 28 millimeter speaker? If you're, I
His
guess I'll
crystal
wait.
chambers are nice.
Yeah, really.
Well,
nice.
I just got one in, and the guy was selling it all by itself on eBay, and I put it in the Roman steel Luke V2. This thing weighs 50 pounds. But this is one of the older ones, so it doesn't take a 28 millimeter bass speaker. I think this is the 20. It'll take a 23, but I'm going to mill it out. But right now it won't close all the way because this is not for this saber. So I'm going to have to mill the end of it, so it'll close all the way on the latch. I think when you and I were doing Daria's saber, we were talking about this crystal chamber space.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then we ended up going a different
It's
direction.
beautiful.
But it's in its simplest form. This is right out of the box, both the saber and the crystal chamber. But I was just curious which one Mundo got, because I just got this in the mail and started test fitting it, and I'm gonna.
Mundo says Mark 1.
Okay, and so did you get one of his newer ones that takes the 28 millimeter? I figured it was probably for the MK1.
That's going to sound good.
Yeah, because
With the 28.
It's been really hard to fit a 28 in that little space in the Romans MK1. But that's a solid setup. That Rudy Pando is really solid.
Yeah, those are
The
beautiful.
way it's made. Yeah. They're tough too. Poetic Justice Warrior.
I don't know how you fight for poetic justice, but I'm going to try.
You guys and your fancy names, I just got robbed.
All right. So anybody want to say anything else about sabers or Star Wars or Obi-Wan or Boba Fett or anything like that?
I can show this off real quick, Space. This is where the only second copy that's ever going to exist of Brad's saber chassis is just beginning.
Whoa.
So remember, this is for the LS that you sent me.
The LS
So
just barely fits in there, right?
Yep, it just barely fits. Remember, man, it
if
was
you
super
heat it up
cramped
with a
too.
heat gun and pray to your Lord and Savior, it might slide in there.
Yep. Yeah, I had to do some filing on this one because this is all the prototype discs that were left over from Brad's chassis that I sent you. These are all left over. I'd cut them and then I go to see if the board would slide in and it wouldn't, and then I'd change the dimensions on the CNC laser cutter and recut them. So these are all that are left over before the PC crashed and I lost the design.
Oh,
So this will be the only other one in existence because the design is gone forever on an ancient PC.
Oh, it's
Oh,
cool to
that's
see some progress on that, though.
Yeah, and there's your battery, your What are those? 15.
They're going to be two 14 500s in there.
Yeah,
Or?
it's such a rare Yes, that's such a rare battery size. I always forget the numbers. But yeah, I can't wait to see the blades you sent me for a true string blade.
Yeah, you know what I'm
Light up.
realizing is like they're taking those component LEDs off the market. I think because at least on the websites that I'm used to getting them from, like super bright LEDs, I think was recently bought by some, I don't know, Chinese company or something. So I actually just got pixel strips in from them to test, but I was actually on there to buy LEDs to make a string blade, and I realized that I was on there about a month and a half ago, and their stock was like severely reduced. And then I went back a couple days ago, and they had taken the component LEDs completely off the site. And like, I'm afraid, see, it took so long to, like, back in the day when all I was making was LED string blades, it took a while to find robust enough LEDs to make the entire string blade like work properly, because like the amp limit on those small LEDs is so low on some of them, on the cheap ones, like the 10-20 cent ones, that like they'll just blow like when you're trying to use them for the string blades, and it's like not worth the effort to make the segments. So I found these like really robust like LEDs with more than like triple the rating of some of the other LEDs around Amazon and different places I was getting them from. And that was super bright LEDs. They had these great robust ones. Now they're totally gone. So I don't know, like, if we have to make more string blades, like what are we going to do for LEDs? But I think what we might do is make a completely new string blade out of those like cob LEDs.
You talking about the flat top?
Like the filaments.
Listen,
Really?
if you want, I got bags of these. I will give them to you.
Oh yeah, I'll try them out. Yeah,
I got tons of them. And by the way, thank you for these. These are fucking amazing. I love
cool.
These drop-in
Awesome. I'm glad you got
light
those.
plug LEDs. Those things are so cool.
Me too. I use them in crystal chambers.
Me and
great.
JID like those in sabers too. Like put them in like a saber accent LEDs and stuff. And when JediArmsDealer found out that they work really well for the what am I trying to say? Like they're in series. So if you want to
do animations,
if you want to do animations and stuff, it kind of works for that. They don't just go on like all at once. So that's kind of cool for like little circular animations and different stuff that you want to do.
Yep, turbine. And they're the only blade plug chip or crystal chamber chip that has a pixel in the center. So they're perfect for lighting up crystals.
Yep.
Yeah.
Nothing else I've found.
Well, I like those little floras as well. When you're in a real tight spot, you can put like a even smaller like flora chip in there.
Mm-hmm.
Those are cool too.
These ones right here.
Yes, I bought the same pack. Yeah, I bought the same pack, and I kind of use those in a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I love.
Are those 50-50, Robs? Are those 50-50s?
The ones I got were 35-35. Those look like the same 3mm.
Yeah, these
Which ones did you send me, Space?
These are 10mm.
I think those same 35-35. Say again, Rob?
These are 10mm OD. That's all I know.
PCB.
Yeah.
So if it's 10, they're probably 35-35s then, because those are 7mm. But no, that's the strip. I think the actual chip itself is only 5mm on the 35-35. So they must be.
Oh, Rich Sangilla says I've become a big fan of the Golden Harvest V3. I like installing it much more than CF10. Wow. Yeah, I think you mentioned that to me before, Rich. I want to get one of those cards.
How many fonts are they up to, Rich? It's not unlimited, is it, like the CFX, or I don't know what?
No, I don't think it's unlimited there. I think there's a 3 or something, maybe 6.
Yeah,
I don't know.
It's been going up. That's why I was curious what the current OS supports. But TCSS started carrying those. They look pretty cool.
Yeah, they're good words.
Swing.
Oh, they're talking about lava lamp type lightsaber setup, or maybe for crystal chamber. That'd be kind of cool, actually. A little mini, like a little lava lamp liquid crystal.
A 70s theme.
Lightsaber, lava lamp.
Yeah. Put some fuzzy, puffy couch material on the
Some
grip.
like blacklight poster paint in there.
That's great.
All right, well, I think we're going to wrap it up for tonight. Thank you guys for coming on here and talking all things Star Wars. I think there's like a lot to talk about, and we could keep going. We could come back again and talk about whatever news is going to come out over the next couple of days. I'm sure there's going to be Obi-Wan news. There is probably going to be Ahsoka news at some point, and Mandalorian season 3 news, maybe some rumors and stuff about new movies soon as well. I don't know, but I would have thought there would have been like movie talk by now, but I haven't heard like movie type talk regarding Star Wars in a while.
Yeah.
Nothing that sounds legit anyway.
Yep.
Damn that pandemic. Taking us out of our movie theaters.
Yeah, well, now with Disney Plus, it's like they have this avenue where they could shove stuff.
Yeah.
But the way that they seem to want to do movies is like charge you $30, like if you want to watch it on there first. But that's not how the other ones do it. Like HBO will like put out the movie the same day as it's in the theater. It's pretty convenient. Like if you do want to stay home, like HBO is a great one to have, because they don't seem to hold back or to charge people more money for like new movies like Disney does. It's just literally available right then and there whenever it comes out. It's pretty cool.
Yep.
I didn't know that. That's pretty cool.
Chet Osborne, you have a good night. He said, good stuff, guys. What's Jim said? Use micro LCD screen and fake it. Yeah, like inside a blade or inside a crystal, or maybe for the crystal chamber.
We've talked about that.
Yeah, we talked about using. Oh yeah, me and JediArmsDealer got a kind of a crazy idea to use a few screens inside a lightsaber.
OLED bendy screen. Yep.
Yeah.
You can do all the animations you want with an HD TV inside your blade.
Oh, thanks so much, David Hunter, NYC. He says, it was my first time here. You guys are awesome. Thank you. You are awesome too.
Yep,
thanks for all the
Likewise,
interaction and the questions. It's a lot of great interaction with you. Felicia, have a great night. Stay
Night,
cool.
Felicia.
Stay cool. It's only one way to be.
We'll try.
Mundo says good night. And Jim Smith says
Night,
most of the
Mandalorian.
community is awesome. Yeah, for sure. Everybody in the community is awesome. Sometimes you get like one weird person on Facebook or something, but I don't really think that they represent the community
No,
as a whole.
definitely not.
I only see good things happening when I'm looking around the lightsaber community.
That's the only
Only
reason I
good
go
things.
on Facebook.
Yeah. All right. Well, we will do another show pretty soon. We'll have to figure out what we're going to talk about in the next one. Now that there's no active series, but there'll be Star Wars news and stuff, and we'll come back and discuss it. In the meantime, enjoy your lightsabers, saber the moment, keep building, you guys. I'll be busy building all this weekend, every night this week. I'm sure just like you guys.
Yeah.
And I got some videos coming out. I have a video I did with JediArmsDealer. I'm still editing about a new tool that I got, and that'll be out pretty soon because I'm actually almost done with that. And I think I'll have my video ready tomorrow about One Replica's Darth Vader MPP grips. I think that's like saving as we speak. So that'll be out tomorrow. And then subscribe here if you want to see more lightsaber videos. I've been pretty slow lately with lightsaber videos, but I got a bunch that are like done, and I have to make videos and start displaying them and showing them off to you guys. So keep a lookout for those.
Yep, I got one coming out soon with the 3 thermal detonators over my shoulder. 1, 2, 3. They're all
Nice.
remote control. So that video is going to be coming out here in the next week or so.
Nice.
All weathered. Fun stuff.
All right,
right,
everybody.
gentlemen.
Well, thank you again and have a great evening. Talk to
too,
you in the
Space.
next one.
All right,
Thank you.
Thanks for
likewise.
having us on. This is
Thanks for
always
having us,
fun.
definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
May the
All
force
right,
May
be
the
with
force
you.
be with
The
you.
Force will be with you always.
Always.
Pick up your Star Wars lightsaber.
Switch on your Star Wars lightsabers or your Go!